International students at Hogwarts. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 176, Running Away from Home. Beast Ears, maid outfit. I love this outfit, Luren thought in his heart. It turned out to be the maid who invited him to dinner. Luren followed a beautiful young lady to the restaurant, and how would he describe what he saw along the way? It feels like entering some strange themed coffee shop or comic exhibition. I didn't see the maids in the castle before, but now I see them, and I realize that all the maids in Greylock's house are Miss Beast Ears. That gentleman and the old man turned out to be Beast Ear controllers. It's really hard to judge people by their appearances, and is this the extravagant legacy of medieval aristocrats? Really should be condemned, but it's a tradition to go to the country and do as the Romans do, so I can't say anything. What he saw and heard was so shocking that Luren's whole heart was confused. He had never seen such a battle before. By the way, is there any consideration in this aspect when Jalednu was hired? But he had this thought directly in his heart. He didn't want to have any conflict with Jalednu. He instinctively felt that the swordsman was very strong. Every time he looked directly at her, he felt a sense of fear of facing natural enemies. It was as if people were not her kind, but her prey. Outside the restaurant, he met Mr. Spurious, a gentleman who had apparently come to cook as well. But before he could exchange greetings with Luren, a maid hurried over and said to him, "Master, something is wrong. Missy has run away from home." Spurious' pupils dilated suddenly. Luren glanced at him. "Good guy, you move very fast. That's my turn to play. As the young lady's tutor, I also have the obligation to help you find it." Luren volunteered. "Well." Spurious was about to say something, but was interrupted by Sextus, who just appeared in a robe. "Everyone go out to find Alice. If you can't find Alice, come back. None of you will have a better time." Then he kicked everyone out, including Spurious, and asked everyone to go out to find Miss Alice. Luren was among them, holding a lantern in one hand and an owl that guides him in the other. He wanders the hills of Augustapona. He just felt that it was a pity that he didn't communicate well with Spurious. He didn't know what his next plan was, and he didn't know how to cooperate with him. Wandering around, he found that somehow, he had escaped from the surrounding mountains and came to a Muggle street. Luren frowned. He had already left the territory of the Greyrat family. This was not good. To be cautious, he wanted to go back. But he suddenly saw a familiar figure on an abandoned bus stop across the street. It was Alice. "Now that we met, let's get in touch with her." Luren felt that according to the plot design, he needed to talk to Alice. He approached Alice and found the little girl weeping with her face in her arms. "Go away. Leave me alone." Hearing someone approaching, she cursed directly, hoping that the visitor would not come here to find trouble. "Why bother?" Luren sat next to her. "It's you." Alice raised her head in surprise. "You actually came to find me. Can't you? I'm also your tutor after all." Luren showed a gentle smile. "Come on, let's go home." I haven't admitted that you are my tutor. Don't move." A sudden shout interrupted the conversation between the two. Luren looked up, and saw that he and Alice had been surrounded by 4 big men in black, and each of them was holding a pistol in their hands. "Wow, is this what Spurious finds someone? Very professional. There's even a gun." The family is deeply involved in the Muggle world. However, he still remains vigilant. What if the person facing him is a real kidnapper? Although it's pretty outrageous to meet 4 armed robbers on the streets of a small French city. A tall man in the lead suddenly grabbed Alice and covered Alice's mouth and nose with a handkerchief. Alice struggled for a while and then remained silent. The big man took a closer look at Alice's face. "That's right, it's her. The target has been captured." Hearing this, Luren was relieved at once. The person Spurious is looking for is really professional, and the fake is confusing the real. I almost thought they were real kidnappers." Luren began to cooperate with their performance. At this time, a black van drove over and stopped on the side of the road. A few big men came down again, and they threw Alice into the van directly. At this time, the rest of the kidnappers were still pointing guns at Luren. They asked, "Boss, what about this little boy?" The man who was the leader of the previous group of 4 was about to speak, but was interrupted by a voice in the van. "Let me see what that kid looks like." Then, Luren was escorted to the van, and the people in the car looked at Luren for a while. "I didn't expect to get something extra today. Have you searched?" "I searched." A man in black handed over Lu Ren's wand. When they verified Alice's identity just now, Lu Ren was also searched by another man. Lu Ren was very cooperative, so they didn't do anything to Lu Ren, but confiscated his wand. The man in the cart took the wand and looked at it. Sure enough, it's him. I really made money tonight. Let's go, take them back, and I'll treat you to a drink tomorrow. Then, Lu Ren was covered with a ball of cloth over his mouth and nose. Soon, he was unconscious. When he woke up again, he found himself lying in a dirty room. Moonlight streamed in through a half-sealed window. Does it have to be so real? Lu Ren complained in his heart. His head is dizzy now. This is a side effect of anesthesia. He felt his hands and feet tied behind his back, and a light bulb was stuffed in his mouth. The light bulb can ensure that Lu Ren can't spit out the light bulb by himself, so he can't make too much noise. Through the hazy moonlight, Lu Ren saw Alice lying beside him, looking at him with her big eyes. Lu Ren had a glimpse of understanding. He turned his back and shook his tied hands towards Alice. Alice also understood immediately. Lu Ren touched Alice's hand, and then moved up to the knot. Okay, that's it, let me untie the knot slowly. As a result, 1 minute has passed, 2 minutes has passed, 5 minutes has passed. The knot seems to be getting tighter. Lu Ren was sweating profusely. Why can't this knot be untied? Alice became impatient and made a faltering voice. At this time, the door of the room was suddenly opened, and the light from outside came in. A short, fat middle-aged man was standing at the door. End of this chapter, chapter 177. The chunky man was wearing a well-fitting suit and held a wine glass in his hand. He looked at the two little guys in the room for a while, and then drank the wine in one gulp. Then he handed the wine glass to a younger brother who was following him, and he himself walked into the room. Well, this outfit is very in line with the character design of your previous elite kidnapper group. It is really hard work. He squatted next to Lu Ren. This kind of knot is a knot that cannot be untied. Then he stepped on Lu Ren's hand. Lu Ren felt the pain from the bone marrow. Woo! He wanted to shout, but a light bulb was stuffed in his mouth, so he couldn't shout out at all. Something is wrong. Something is very wrong. Lu Ren noticed something unusual. If this guy is acting, he's definitely overacting. The purpose of Spurious is to educate his daughter, not to leave any psychological shadow on her. Now this guy is too ruthless. The short and fat man let go of his feet, and Lu Ren felt that the back of his hand might be fractured. Then he lifted Alice up and ripped the tape off her mouth. All of a sudden, Lu Ren felt pain when he heard it. Alice also let out a scream. Do you know who I am? Let me go. Alice struggled like a fish. My Kylene, you will come over and chop you into mincemeat. Then Alice's mouth was sealed again. Stand up. Bang, bang. There was the sound of a fist hitting a sandbag, followed by Alice's muffled groan. Her head and abdomen were beaten several times. Alice curled up, motionless. I know the identities of the two of you. One is the granddaughter of the Grellet family, and the other is the owner of the unicorn. You got rich today. Lu Ren's pupils shrank. This is different from what he imagined. They were really kidnapped. With a bang, the man slammed the door shut. There was a conversation through the door. Boss, how is it? It's still alive and kicking. Doesn't that kid have a unicorn on him? That's right. Who would walk around with a unicorn in his spare time? Forget it, it's not a big problem. Anyway, he's just an extra head anyway. A unicorn. He must have been left at Greylet's house. Bah, bad luck. At this time, the person who gave orders in the van before spoke. His voice was cold and deep. Cato, I warn you, don't touch the goods again. Too serious injuries or disfigurement will make the goods drop in value. Your little one, I am very aware of hobbies, but I hope you can restrain yourself. The chunky man snorted, but didn't dare to speak again. After Lu Ren couldn't hear the sound from outside, he directly used the Sen rune to burn the rope on his hand, and in the same way, he also burned the rope on his feet. As for the light bulb in his mouth, he tried to use a wandless transformation technique. This spell is very difficult, but fortunately Lu Ren only needs to change the shape of the light bulb, so he barely succeeded after a few attempts. He put the deformed light bulb on the ground, and then gently climbed up to the side of the eldest lady. At this time, the eldest lady's eyes were in a daze, and she seemed to be blinded by the punch just now, and bruises appeared on her delicate face. Quing, with dried nosebleeds all over his face. But when she saw Lu Ren, there was still light in her eyes. Hush! Lu Ren asked her to keep quiet, and then the rune was activated to heal Alice's injury. After a while of treatment, Lu Ren gently removed the tape on Alice's mouth, and at the same time covered her mouth to keep her quiet. Fortunately, although the eldest lady was extremely frightened, she still maintained her rationality and did not yell. Lu-Ren felt his hand was sticky, and when he looked down, it was covered with blood. He felt a little ominous. Alice was vomiting blood, which was a very bad sign. He hurriedly cast the Aura rune on her stomach, hoping to at least stabilize the eldest lady's injury. In the end, Lu-Ren's half-baked healing rune still worked, and Alice stopped vomiting blood. Woo! It hurts. Help, save me, please. Alice's eyes were full of pleading expressions, and there was no trace of surliness. Lu-Ren faintly heard people outside arguing whether to sell them or demand a ransom from the Grellet family. He felt that he couldn't wait any longer, so he immediately burned the young lady's bondage, and then used the healing rune to treat her injury a little bit. In order to buy time for them to escape, Lu-Ren quietly melted the door lock cylinder of this house with magic power. Now the whole door can no longer be opened with a key, and can only be opened violently afterwards. Lu-Ren approached the window and observed carefully. He found that there were iron railings on the outside of the window, and wooden boards were bound in disorder on the inside, so it was difficult to remove it silently. Lu-Ren touched the window lightly and roughly understood its structure. He looked back, and at this moment the eldest lady had already stood up, grinning and moving her hands and feet cautiously. Alice, listen to me, our situation is not very good now. We have been kidnapped, and they want to sell us to those with special hobbies. Are you lying to me? Alice's face turned pale. I don't have the need. Then don't make any noise. I will take you out. I will definitely take you home. Lu-Ren comforted her. Lu-Ren didn't want to confront the kidnapper head-on, because he wasn't sure how powerful the kidnapper was. If the kidnapper pulled out a few automatic rifles, the risk was too high for him, and he was sure that there were wizards in the opposing camp. How else would he know he had unicorns? After he finished speaking, Lu-Ren began to mutter words, and he began to summon his fire dragon, Noble. Come out, fire dragon Noble. After finishing the chant, under Alice's shocked gaze, Lu-Ren summoned Norbert. He glanced at the sealed window and sneered, Alice, look after me, I'll show you what a wizard is. Lu-Ren climbed onto Noble's back, and pulled Alice up, and then he stretched out his right hand, facing the window. Confringo. Boom. The window and a large piece of the surrounding wall were directly blown into pieces. Lu-Ren took Alice and flew into the night sky on a dragon. Flying in the air, Lu-Ren waited and watched. Surrounded by a dark forest, he couldn't recognize the direction. Where is your home? Lu-Ren shouted. How do I know? Alice replied loudly. The explosion alarmed the kidnappers. They jumped up and rushed to the attic where Lu-Ren and the others were held, and some ran out of the house. The kidnappers who ran to the attic found that the door lock was blocked, and they were banging on the door in vain, but the door was so strong that they failed to break open. Go away. A strong masked man pushed them aside, then picked up his staff. Yes, it was a staff in his hand. He was holding a staff that was about the height of a person and the thickness of a child's arm. The tip of the staff had a decoration like a flower bone. There were 7 shining beads beside the flower bone, and a magic wand was stuck in the center of the decoration. Drink. The masked man let out a breath, then swung his staff and slammed it on the door, knocking the door flying. Robbers. You are so unmagical. End of this chapter. Chapter 178. The Dark Wizard. The masked man rushed into the house, and the first thing he saw was the half-shattered wall and the 2 people and 1 dragon who had already flown into the air. He let out a cold snort, the staff thumped the ground, a small piece of ice appeared directly in front of Norbert, and then the masked man directly apparated onto the ice. Leveraging slightly on that piece of ice, he pointed a staff at the stunned Norbert. Noble was caught off guard by this blow, and was hit directly on the head. The stick was innocuous and did not cause any injuries to Norbert, but it made him feel his body sank, making it difficult to continue flying, and he fell to the ground uncontrollably, and was finally pressed back to the ground. Even after the set of tricks, the masked man's face turned pale, and faint sweat appeared on his head. Obviously, it takes a huge amount of mana to force a dragon to land, but there is no doubt that these are all worthwhile. If you keep Lu-Ren and the others in the air, even if you are a god, it will be difficult for you to stop them from escaping. Lu-Ren was not idle either. He waved a spell the first time the masked man appeared, but he dodged it, and then Lu-Ren could only watch helplessly as he fell to the ground again. At this time, a man in black was already running towards them with a submachine gun. The wand is flying. 2 black shadows shot out from the shattered window and flew towards Lu-Ren, which were his 2 magic wands. It's the one that chooses the wizard. Lu-Ren whispered, The bond between him and his two wands was very deep, and he could summon them with bare hands. Lu Ren, who got a wand, directly sent a thunderbolt explosion to the people in black who rushed over. The two people who ran in the front were directly swallowed by Lu Ren's spell and were blown to pieces, and the rest were blown to pieces. Scared out of courage, each of them took cover and shrank, not daring to show their heads again. Cato hid behind a big rock and shouted, "Messerach, hurry up! We can't hold on here anymore." His voice gave away his position, and Lu Ren directly hit him with an explosive curse. The stone that Cato used to hide was blown to pieces in an instant. If the younger brother next to him hadn't blocked it for him, the gang leader named Cato must have been seriously injured. Everyone restrained their voices, and the scene froze. Messerach was the name of the masked man at this time. He was hiding in the shadow of the woods. His face was very bad. The target was too tricky. I thought it was a soft persimmon, but I didn't expect him to have a dragon. Do you want to continue with our plan? There was one more person quietly beside Messerach. The person who just appeared was wearing a white robe, with long black hair, and a handsome oriental face. With his handsome face and long, smooth hair hanging down his back, it was hard to tell his gender. It's always a bit reconciled to let them go, Camo-kun. This may be our only chance to catch Alice. Okay, let's try again, but you need to find a way to restrain the dragon. The man named Camo responded. It is good. Then Messerach put the staff on the ground, held the staff with both hands, knelt down on one knee, and muttered something. Camo also took out a slender wand from his cuff and waved it lightly. A puff of mist gradually appeared in the air, and soon, the forest where the two sides were fighting was covered in thick fog, and Lu Ren could not even see clearly a few meters away. Huh? Noble spit out a mouthful of dragon's breath, but it had no effect. The dense fog could not be dispelled by just a mouthful of dragon's breath. The flames only vaporized some liquid droplets, but they condensed together again. Soon a few black vines suddenly appeared on the ground, binding Noble firmly. Noble was shocked and struggled, but he did not expect that these vines were obviously not ordinary withered vines. They were extremely tough, one after another, binding Noble and spraying Noble's dragon's breath on the vines had no effect. At this moment, Messerach was half kneeling on the ground, holding his staff tightly, his face pale. Fortunately, it's in the forest. Hurry up, I won't last long. Lu Ren wanted to help cut off the vines on Noble's body, but he heard a few strange noises from the mist. He hurriedly protected Alice, and then took advantage of the situation to roll in a Black Soul style, narrowly dodging take 3 ice picks. Concentrate, your opponent is me. An ethereal voice came from around, flickering from left to right, making people confused. Lu Ren calmed down and dealt with it calmly. At this time, Alice recovered from the series of accidents. Her eyes were full of anxiety and fear, but she still mustered up her strength to face the void even though she was trembling with fright. Zhang shouted, I swear in the name of the Grillet family, I will make you pay a price beyond death. Her voice became a good cover for the other party to cover up the sound of the ice pick, so Lu Ren could only cover her mouth and say to her, promise me, stop yelling, be obedient, and I will take you home. Alice nodded, and swallowed the words that came to her mouth. 2 more ice picks came from nowhere, but Lu Ren blocked them all. Is it only to this extent? Such an attack can't penetrate my defense. Lu Ren taunted lightly, cast a few explosive curses and went back, and he also threw a fireball into the air as a warning. His purpose is to enrage the enemy and give him a sense of urgency by the way, allowing him to show his feet in a panic. At this time, the dense fog in front of Lu Ren was cleared away, and 3 more ice picks appeared. Can you be a little innovative? Lu Ren waved his hand casually, and as a result, Lu Ren's spell directly passed through the ice cone without causing any damage to them, and then the ice cone rushed directly to Lu Ren's body, passing through it. They just 3 phantoms. Be careful. Alice pushed Lu Ren, and at the same time, Lu Ren felt his back get cold, and 3 ice picks shot from behind him. If Alice hadn't pushed him, there would already be 3 more holes in his body at this time, but now he also has 3 bloody cuts on his back. Lu Ren's heart sank, feeling a little bad as everyone knows. At this time, Camo is also suffering. Neither he nor Messerach are very good at offensive spells. Normally, they control others and harvest them easily, but today Messerach was forced to suppress when the fire dragon is out. It leads to insufficient control, which directly exposes their output shortcomings. Continuing to procrastinate will be very bad for them. The support of the Grillet family may arrive at any time, and Mesrosh can no longer suppress the fire dragon, and it will be difficult for him to defeat this difficult child in a short time. However, Camo has seen all kinds of storms a lot. He is a ruthless man who escaped from the pursuit of the Japanese Ministry of Magic. Under such circumstances, he still remained calm. He analyzed the situation and made a decide. End of this chapter. Chapter 179. However, I refuse. The surrounding fog suddenly dissipated, and Camo Shin's figure appeared in front of Lu Ren's eyes. Lu Ren raised his hand and a spell hid him, but it didn't hide him, but hid a tree not far away. An explosion occurred. Is it really a phantom? Lu Ren raised his vigilance to the highest level and took precautions. Seeing may not be believing. The phantom spoke, his voice still erratic as always. In this field, what you see are all illusions arranged by me. You will only be trapped in the illusion. Lu Ren snorted and sneered at this. Your tickling attack power also wants to hurt me. Gimmicky, but he still got close to Alice and protected her, trembling behind him. Unlike him, this child has no self-protection ability. I recognize your talent, and I can allow you to leave. Camo Shin's offensive words did not stop. Just keep that little girl. We can even give you a good reward. If you don't, I know that little girl behind you is very valuable. Oh, I know a few perverted pure-blood families. The little girl from the Greylet family can be sold for a sky-high price. Her grandfather seems to love her very much, so I can still ask for another ransom. Think about it carefully. Do you die here, or take the money and leave? Camo's phantom showed an extremely proud expression. According to his analysis, it is impossible for this little boy to fight him to the end. For that little girl, he was just scratched by his own ice pick. Moreover, Camo Shin sincerely wanted to let Lu Ren go, and he planned to recruit Lu Ren into his team in the future. Their team now lacks an output, and the two controllers can play a team, but they don't hurt. Alice, who heard this, also grabbed Lu Ren's sleeve nervously. She was very afraid that she would be handed over like this. Oh? As long as my eldest miss hands me over, you can let me go and give me a sum of money back? Lu Ren asked with great interest. That's right. I guarantee your safety. That amount of money is not a small sum. Lu Ren, please give me a sweet word. Will you go? Camo Shin readily agreed. Alice was in a hurry. She couldn't imagine what would happen to her after falling into the hands of those strange uncles. She helplessly grabbed Lu Ren's sleeve. Her heart was full of despair. Looking at his performance, it seemed that he was already tempted. Please, please. She begged softly. Lu Ren let out a sigh of relief. In my short life, I have realized a truth. The more fancy the magic, the more fragile it is. Camo, what are you trying to say? I'm someone who likes to say no to self-righteous people. So, I refuse. My magic will tear you to pieces. Lu Ren raised his magic wand directly above his head. Sen, Vulcan descends. A flame emerged from the tip of Lu Ren's wand, and quickly circled around his arm. In the reflection of the flames, Lu Ren's there seemed to be flames leaping in his eyes, and he shook his arms violently. Noble, breathe fire. Noble directly opened the dragon's breath, and the flames of the dragon's breath seemed to come alive, attracted by Lu Ren's magic, and joined in. With the help of a fire dragon, this time Lu Ren completed the magic without sacrificing himself. Zurong, but this time it is a castrated version. After all, there is no soul. It is true that there is no soul, and this curse has to sacrifice vitality to have the greatest power. This castrated version of Zurong, Lu Ren named it Vulcan Descending. Although it is a castrated version, it is enough. Fog is nothing more than small suspended liquid droplets formed by the condensation of water vapor. Wouldn't it be over if you evaporate all these liquid droplets? There is also Camo who pretends to be a ghost. His magic principle is to use light refraction to create visual illusions, similar to mirages. This kind of exquisite magic is most afraid of being broken by force. Lu Ren summoned an extremely bright ring of fire, and then with the help of Noble, the ring of fire formed a sea of flames originating from the tip of Lu Ren's staff. Lu Ren picked up a sea. There are no other things in the whole world, only flames are left. In an instant, the dense fog around Lu Ren was dispelled, and there rose into the sky, cooled at high altitude, and formed a cloud. Torn apart. Clear water like a spring, is Ice Demon text. Lu Ren immediately cut the vines on Noble's body after the fire god came, and then created a stream of water that wet him in Alice, and turned into make some icicles to cool yourself down. He needs to act quickly. The surroundings will soon become a combination of an oven and a steamer, and if he doesn't leave, he may be roasted by his own magic. Go. He rode on Noble, took Alice, and flew into the night sky. When Luren's magic was halfway through, Camo was running desperately. Although he didn't know the name of the magic spell, it didn't prevent him from feeling the terrifying power contained in it. It was a kind of heavenly power. It was force of nature. He has no time to care about Messerach. He just wants to escape from here, the farther the better. At this time, Messerach was watching the flames approaching him in despair. The magic power in his body was almost exhausted. There was a flash of fluorescent light in the forest, and every time it flashed, Camorin appeared out of thin air, and then disappeared. When he appeared next time, he was already tens of meters away. He ran several hundred meters in this way, and when he stopped, a string of Buddhist beads in his hand was also broken, and Camo showed a very painful expression. He found a tree and prepared to apparate under the tree. He was not very good at apparating, so he could only find a quiet place to meditate before apparating to ensure that there would be no problems. Suddenly, a strong figure appeared under the tree, followed by the sound of breaking the air and the sound of bones breaking. A long sword pierced through the air, and slammed Camo on the ground. He still wanted to struggle, but a sword hilt hit the back of his head heavily, and Camo rolled his eyes and completely passed out. At this time, a gust of wind and waves came, and Luren also drove Noble to land here. Thank you, Kyrinu. Alice was so excited that she almost jumped off the dragon's back when she saw Kyrinu. I saw the fireball in midair, so I ran over to take a look at it by chance, and it turned out that I made the right bet. By the way, miss, you two wait here for a while, I will be right back. After speaking, Giladu disappeared. Less than 2 minutes later, Kyrinu returned to the spot with several people on his back, blood dripping down her long sword to the ground. It's not suitable to stay here for a long time. Kyrinu glanced at the place where the battle just happened. You are setting fire to the mountain, and I don't know how to use large-scale water magic, and I can't control the fire. Luren. I hope the French put out the fire quickly, but considering their performance in Notre Dame de Paris, Luren has no hope. End of this chapter. Chapter 180 Bounty. After returning to the castle, Alice slumped down on the ground. Once a person is relieved from extreme tension, it is easy to lose strength. The maids of the castle ran over in a hurry and helped Alice up with all their might, but when she stood up, she shook off the hands of the maids and saluted Luren. She shouted loudly, "Please allow me to call you, Master." After returning home, she became confident again and her voice became much louder. On the way Kyrinu accompanied her back, she gradually recalled the details of the battle, the cool fire dragon, the explosive spell powerful enough to blow up half the wall, and the flames of the prairie fire. Such magic has a fatal attraction for her, and she likes these powerful things. After returning to the castle, Kyrinu hurried away with the 5 prisoners. She needed to go to Sextus to report the situation and find out who was behind the scenes. Luren and Alice returned to the castle, and after a little relaxation, they hurried to take a bath and change clothes. After Luren changed into new clothes and cleaned up the dirt left by the previous hard battle, he was invited to the previous reception room. Serenu, Sextus, and Spurius were already waiting there, and not long after, Alice, who had a fresh look after freshening up, was also brought in. Luren noticed that the previous butler had disappeared. The identity of the person who kidnapped you has been found out. The person who carried out the kidnapping is a gang that wanders between the Muggle world and the Wizarding world. Giladu came over and said to Luren and the others first, an organization composed of 12 Muggles and 2 Dark Wizards. They got a tip from inside the castle, and then found the eldest lady who had run away from home outside. HMPH. Sextus snorted heavily, and he seemed to be on the verge of rage. You don't have to save face, that son of a bitch, Menke, who eats everything. He walked up to Luren, hugged Luren with his thick arms, and then rubbed Luren's head roughly. Boy, you are very good. If Alice falls into someone else's hands, I don't know what I will do. Then he pushed Luren, whose hairstyle was completely messed up, back to his seat. Okay, I don't care about the rest of the things. Those people are sent to the dungeon, and then I will write to those old guys in the Ministry of Magic and ask them to award the little guy with a medal or something. Kid, you're welcome, you deserve it. Then he pushed open the door and left carelessly. It is true that like a father, there must be a grandson. Luren sighed in his heart. Alice would have such a personality, and his grandfather should bear the main responsibility. Then have they all been arrested? Luren is more curious about this. He is a person who likes to cut grass and roots. If there are still people alive in this organization, he will be burdened with unnecessary troubles. Jirinu gave him a very strange look. Except for the 5 people I brought back, everyone else was buried in the sea of fire. I checked and indeed found 9 wreckage. This time you also caught 2 big fish. The hangman Messerach Thurman and the white robe wizard Camorin are both notorious black wizards in the international community, because they seriously violated the international. They are wanted by the International Confederation of Wizards because of the Secrecy Act. The 2 of them have a lot of cases. The gang likes to do human trafficking. The Bulgarian Ministry of Magic and the Japanese Ministry of Magic have been sending people to hunt them down, but they all escaped, killing an Auror and 4 ministry employees in the process. White-robed wizard? A wandering black wizard has such a nice nickname. Lu Ren was shocked. A rebellious, oh no, a black wizard can actually get the title of Gandalf, which is too outrageous. Spulius on the side gave Lu Ren a popularization. This is a cultural difference. The magic school in Japan is called Mahadakoro, and the students there will wear a magical robe at school, which can be used at will. It changes size as the student ages, and changes color as the wearer's knowledge increases. At the beginning, this school robe was a light pink like cherry blossoms, and if the student can get the best score, then it will be able to turn golden. But the robes of students who betrayed the Japanese wizarding code, committed illegal acts, or violated the international statute of secrecy turned white. Albinism is a terrible stigma that can get students expelled from school and put on trial by the Japanese Ministry of Magic. So you get it right, the so-called white robe wizard is an extremely serious accusation in Japan. Lu Ren suddenly realized that this was the case. The Messerach and Camorin who fell into your hands this time are both famous dark wizards. Lu Ren, you are really going to be famous now. Do they have a bounty? Lu Ren suddenly remembered something. Sirius was worth, galleons, so I don't know how much these 2 would be worth. Messerach, 1,000 galleons, and if Camojin is to be converted, it's about 2,000 galleons. Spulius recalled, remembering the worth of those 2 people. Lu Ren's first reaction was, these 2 are only worth 1/3 of Sirius together? But then I was relieved, there was nothing wrong with it. Sirius was a special case, who made him the first dark wizard to escape from Azkaban, and the boss he followed was also famous. Messerach Camo is a lone wolf who fights alone, so it's not bad to be able to make such a fortune. 3,000 gold galleons. Lu Ren was suddenly agitated. This is a large amount of money. The prize money for the Triwizard Tournament is only 1,000, and 1,000 galleons is enough for Brother Fred to open a shop in Diagon Alley. Of course, in order to actually open a shop in Diagon Alley, 1,000 galleons is far from enough, but the Weasley brothers have a good reputation. When they were students, they sent them by all mail in the borough. The second is that they made a bargain at the time. The return of Voldemort has been accepted by the public. The turmoil in the British wizarding world has led to a decrease in the rent of shops in Diagon Alley, and the cost of opening a shop has been reduced. In addition, after receiving several large orders from the Ministry of Magic, he gained a firm foothold in Diagon Alley. But 1,000 gold galleons is definitely a considerable fortune. The Weasley family won the Galleon Award in the Daily Prophet, and won 700 galleons, which was enough for their entire family to travel to Egypt. Thinking that he was about to become the owner of, galleons, Lu Ren felt a little excited. He could buy a few more comfortable and beautiful robes, change a broom for himself, and buy some ingredients for potions. The money I earned from selling alcohol with Fred and the others was basically used to buy materials for ritual magic, and the rest is estimated to be spent on this year's textbooks. I want to get another prostitute from Lockhart for nothing. The idea of a set of books is not very realistic. End of this chapter. Chapter 181 Dungeon. However, you may only get 1,000 galleons from the official. Spurious corrected Lu Ren's mistake. We will hand over Messerach's body in exchange for the bounty, but Camojin is more expensive. Trouble, he is still alive after all, and to receive the bounty, he must be handed over to the Japanese Ministry of Magic. But you have seen my father's situation. He may prefer to imprison this guy himself. But he still emphasized that if Lu Ren could not receive the bounty due to their reasons, the Grellet family would make up for him. So where will all the wizards outside the UK be locked up if they break the law? Lu Ren was a little curious. Apart from the most notorious Azkaban in the wizarding world, it seems that there is no other prison mentioned. Of course, there are also special prisons. Nurmengard of Grindelwald imprisoned. Severe criminals will be sent to Azkaban. In the past, they had to pay a fee to the British Ministry of Magic. Now this fee has been abolished. Light criminals are locked in their own magic prisons in each country. Of course, some magical families also have their own prisons, such as the Greyrat family. Oh, then can I go and see your cell? Lu Ren felt a little curious, but Spurious didn't object, and took Lu Ren directly to his cell. Since you hate him so much, why don't you execute him? Anyway, he's in your hands. Lu Ren still finds it a bit difficult to understand why choose to lock up this kind of enemy if he can be killed. This is the difference between the way of thinking between muggles and wizards. Many times, for the prisoners of Azkaban, death is a kind of relief. Executing him can only make him suffer for a moment, but put him into Azkaban, but it can make him suffer for the rest of his life. The old man can still distinguish priorities. Then send it directly to Azkaban. It doesn't seem as hopeless as Azkaban if you shut it down yourself. Spurious smiled without saying a word, and led Lu Ren to his dungeon. Soon he was in the wine cellar of his own castle, and with a wave of his wand, a shelf full of wine barrels slid away to reveal an iron plate with a brass ring on it. Spurious took a deep breath, and cast a floating spell with great effort, causing the iron plate to float up. After seeing the whole picture of the iron plate, Lu Ren was stunned. The iron plate is 2 meters long and wide, and half as thick. Rice probably weighs more than 10 tons, and with the weight of those wine barrels, people underground can't open the door without a magic wand. Of course, having a magic wand may not necessarily push it away. Below the iron plate was a square hole. Spurious jumped into it, and Lu Ren jumped into it. Below was a similar tunnel, with an oil lamp emitting a pale yellow light on the surrounding walls. A few meters away, there was a sudden chill in the air. There was no way ahead, and Spurious groped for a while on the wall, and then pressed somewhere. The wall disappeared automatically. An abiding chill swept over him. Eat it. Spurious took out a piece of black thing, swallowed it, and handed another piece to Lu Ren. It's chocolate. Lu Ren now understands why their family has the confidence to hold prisoners by themselves. Lu Ren put the chocolate into his mouth and chewed it. He felt heat flow to his toes and fingers, and the chill around him seemed to have eased a lot. After Lu Ren stepped over the boundary of the stone wall, the stone wall appeared again, blocking his escape route. Behind the stone wall is still the same authentic, but there is no oil lamp. Spurious took out his wand to illuminate, and led Lu Ren forward for nearly 100 steps. Lu Ren estimated that he should be about, meters underground now. Soon, they came to another door, and Spurious opened it, and a smell of rot and mildew came out, and at the same time, there was a smell of despair. Yes, there is a smell of despair here. Lu Ren felt that he couldn't breathe, and the chill around him intensified a lot, mixed with despair, and penetrated into his skin texture, then into his internal organs, and finally into his bone marrow. Spurious, call God for protection. A small silver sparrow sprang out from the tip of his staff, dispelling the cold and despair. Lu Ren was able to see the surrounding environment clearly. He was in a circular hall with an area of about, square meters. Surrounding the hall were individual cubicles, in which some people were sitting slumped in disorder. The whole room was filled with a stench of excrement and rotten food, and there was also an indescribable strange smell, but Lu Ren had an intuition that this smell should be called dead air. There were 3 life forms in the rotunda, hoods covering their faces, tattered cloaks, tall bodies, covered with slime and spots, like some kind of dead bodies rotting in the water, indicating their identities, Dementors. But at this time, the 3 guys were trying to stay away from the little sparrow as much as possible, trying to shrink themselves into the corner. Sorry, the air here is not very good. We refer to the way Hogwarts serves meals and deliver the meals directly from the kitchen. Spurious pointed to a dirty kitchen in a compartment. A plate, containing a piece of black bread and a lump of russet mush. Our cook likes to serve them Indian food, and so does their excrement, which is cleaned up automatically once a day. He shrugged his shoulders. It's a pity that some people have gone crazy and become incontinent. There is no way to do it. I can only clean it every time I come over. Clean it, he said, waving his wand. Clean up the filth in the room. Sometimes, dead people are found. Spurious looked disgusted. I actually quite object to my father imprisoning prisoners here. He dragged out a corpse from a compartment. It was a blond young man wearing a suit. The suit was covered with various unknown filth, but it was still very impressive to see the price at a glance. Who is this? You imprisoned a muggle. He's an American lawyer. Well, you did the right thing. What mistake did other people have to suffer the same punishment as this kind of person? Lu Ren was relieved, and Spurius just sent this guy to hell in advance. Of course, a lawyer is only his first identity, and his second identity is a squid, but what really brought him here is his third identity, a clearer. He is a cleaner from the United States, purge. Luren heard this word for the first time. Spurius nodded heavily. Wizards who don't know the history of American magic generally don't know this word. You just need to remember that the scavenger is the most evil existence. As long as you encounter it, if you expose your self-identity, then there must be killed. End of this chapter. Chapter 182, The Purifier. Luren was a little confused. As for what, he was about to be killed when they met. Isn't that too crazy? Spurius sighed and briefly introduced the Purifiers to Luren. The Cleaner is the code name of the most evil organization in the wizarding world. Death Eaters are younger brothers in front of them, let alone saints whose mainstream is idealists compared with the Purgers. The Death Eaters can definitely be called the pillars of the country and the light of humanity. The reason is also very simple. Although the Death Eaters crazily persecute muggles, and don't like to see bitch wizards and half-blood wizards, at least they are quite biased towards pure-blood wizards. The Cleaners are not. They hate the entire wizarding world. Yes, indiscriminate hatred, no matter whether you are pure blood, mixed blood or hemp, as long as you are not a purger, you are the target of their purging. Later, in order to explain why the Purgers were so crazy, Spurius told Luren a thrilling history, a history about wizards in the ancient land of America. All of this originated in the United States in the 17th century, to be precise, the continent of America. Long before Columbus discovered the American continent, wizards in Europe and Africa communicated with magical groups among Native Americans. In fact, the communication of ancient wizards was earlier than Muggles imagined. As early as the Middle Ages, magical societies around the world had begun to communicate with each other. By the time Columbus came to America, wizards in America could already use broomsticks and apparition to travel. At this time, the local wizards were no different from other places. Individual wizards were accepted by the Aboriginal tribes, and even highly respected in the tribes. They either have a reputation as witch doctors healing the sick, or as excellent hunters in the tribe. However, most of the remaining wizards are considered to be possessed by evil spirits and are often suppressed. Native American wizards are slightly different from European wizards. They used to be less dependent on magic wands, and their talents were more focused on magic related to animals and plants. American wizards even far surpassed Europe in the field of potion production, and imagists and apothecaries among Native Americans can perform complex magic without using a wand. As no-maj Europeans, American wizards call Muggles no-maj. The source is the continuous reading of no magic. Its pronunciation sounds a lot like no-maj. Began to immigrate to the New World. There are also more European witches and wizards settled in America. These wizards are the same as the fellow no-mages. They have many reasons for leaving their homeland. Some of them yearn for adventure and hope to make a fortune in the New World, but most of them want to escape. The people who persecute them are European no-mages, melons, or wizards, or even the Ministry of Magic in their homeland. These wizards blended into the crowd or hid in the wizarding group of Native Americans, and the native wizards of the Americas, like the local natives, accepted and sheltered these compatriots from Europe. Despite the protection of kind American wizards, the environment in the New World was extremely difficult for the European wizards who had just arrived here. First of all, the magic system here is not as perfect as in Europe, and there are almost zero facilities. There are no pharmacies, wand shops, and magic schools here, and naturally there is no Ministry of Magic. This caused wizard immigrants to search for raw materials for preparing potions among unfamiliar magical plants. Later, the world-renowned Alvermorny School of Witchcraft and Wizardry had only a simple hut, 2 teachers and 2 students. At that time it can be said that these new immigrants are the blue threads of the road, and they have started a life in the New World from scratch by opening up the mountains and forests. The second is the atrocities committed by the no-maj settlers. The bad natural environment is not a big problem. The root of the problem is always people. The blood that they inflicted on the native people affected the relationship between Native American wizards and alien wizards. What's more, the no-maj who came to America were mainly Puritans, and the religious beliefs of these people also made it difficult for them to tolerate any signs of magic. Even if there is no evidence, it is easy to become the target of the Puritan accusation, so the witches and witches of the New World have always been in a turbulent environment. Thus, the scavengers were born. Their origins are very complicated. There are Native American wizards whose families have been ruined, awakened ones who have awakened magical talents among the Puritans, and dark wizards and wizard mercenaries from Europe. Yes, before the 17th century, A large number of wizards devoted themselves to the secular world, became court mages or mercenaries. This situation was not curbed until the implementation of the International Federation of Wizards Secrecy Law in 1692. Nearly Headless Nick, the ghost of Gryffindor, is a court mage. Because the magical world in America was small, scattered and hidden at that time, and had not yet formed its own law enforcement mechanism, this group of people gradually became popular and formed a terrifying and brutal organization for various purposes. They have committed blood debts. The sins of these people, the Death Eaters and Saints tied together, can't compare. These people not only hunt anyone who can be used in exchange for bounty. This behavior maintained order at first, but as time passed, the scavengers became more and more corrupt, lacking authority over the Ministry of Magic. Many of the scavengers became greedy and indulged in acts of brutality incompatible with their mission. These scavengers relish bloodshed and torture, and even go so far as to traffic their fellow wizards. By the end of the 17th century, the number of scavengers in America began to multiply. There is evidence that the scavengers even sold some innocent no-mages as wizards to the Puritans in the community who were keen to judge wizards in order to get paid. Eventually, the Salem witch trials took place, and more than 20 people were executed, including quite a few witches. This event shocked the wizarding world and greatly damaged the relationship between American wizards and no-mages. Many wizards and wizards fled America, and many decided not to settle here. This matter directly affected the ratio of the magic population in America. Compared with the three continents of Europe, Asia, and Africa, the local magic population in North America began to undergo subtle changes at that time. Until the early 20th century, America's wizards and witches still represented a smaller proportion of the total population than the other four continents, and few pure-blood families traveled to the Americas. This event was also the direct cause of the birth of the Magical Congress of America. After the birth of the Magic Congress of the United States, they fought fiercely with the Eliminators. The hatred between the Magic Congress and the Eliminators has accumulated from generation to generation and continues to this day. So far, the mysterious veil of the land of America has been completely lifted by Spruce. Luren knows the past of this land, and knows the shadow behind the prosperous American magic world and the undercurrent surging under the calm. The jigsaw puzzle of the wizarding world in his mind became more complete. This chapter mainly talks about the history of the American magic world, and at the same time introduces a new force scavenger. Every place is as close to the original as possible. You may not know that in the chapter on the troll, the original book clearly stated that the troll appeared on the second floor of Hogwarts, and the school hospital was also on the second floor. So Luren and Malfoy, who had diarrhea, ran into the troll hut. Unreasonable. The rest of the fanfic seems to be blurring here. Everyone went to save Hermione, but my main character foolishly went to save Malfoy, which was a real breath of fresh air. Proud, smug face, of course. I also added a little bit of my personal understanding to this chapter. I have always tinkered with the official story framework and used my imagination. Book friends who don't like research settings in this chapter may think it is very watery, but this chapter is actually an important batch, but it will take a long time before you realize this. Finally, I wrote the book to explore the magical world in my childhood, so although this chapter has nothing to do with the current tutoring line, it fits my original intention of writing. I hope you like it, but if you don't like it, I can't demand at least you know the history of the wizarding world in America, don't you? I don't know these things just by reading the original. This chapter is the wedge of the main line later, so important that I can't delete or abbreviate it at all, so it is definitely not a word count. I wrote such a paragraph mainly because I was afraid that you would think, wow, this author put a long paragraph to set the word count, spicy chicken, then delete the book and leave. So, don't leave me. End of this chapter. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelist. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 183: The Cheating French Arithmetic. So that's how it is. Luren suddenly realized that his position was that of wizards, and when he saw the purgers who took hunting wizards as his own responsibility, he naturally wanted to eliminate them. This was a matter of position, not negotiable. But you don't need to get too excited. 3,000 galleons is not a lot of money, and you are worth 3,000 galleons. Spurious said to Luren. Luren? Question mark? My worth is now 3,000 galleons? What? It's like this. In the black market, Someone offered 3,000 galleons to buy your little unicorn. That's right, it makes sense. And what about me? Spurious' expression became very strange. Probably, it's a hair extension. He glanced at Lu Ren's handsome face. If a wealthy witch or a wizard with special hobbies takes a fancy to you, you might be able to sell it. 100 galleons? Anyway, if it was me, I wouldn't buy it if it was more than 50 galleons. Lu Ren. Heartbroken, I am not as valuable as a few tail hairs of my own pets. After the turmoil ended, Lu Ren's tutoring career began. His work includes but is not limited to tutoring Alice in English, helping her with Hogwarts first-year knowledge. Spurious has bought a full set of first-year textbooks, and helping her with her homework. Yes, although Alice came from a pure-blood family, Spurious still insisted on letting her learn Muggle courses. Alice's biggest shortcoming is mathematics. Lu Ren doubts whether she will be able to settle the daily accounts when she arrives in England, but with her wealth, she doesn't care about even a small amount of money. When Lu Ren was chatting with her, he once said that the two black wizards could give him 3,000 galleons in exchange, but the silver-haired girl immediately said that she could also give 3,000 galleons to repay Lu Ren. This aggressive behavior shocked Lu Ren directly. Spurious, how much money did you give your daughter? Harry is rich because his parents are dead, and you are still alive. Is it really good for an 11-year-old to have so much money? But no matter how wealthy she is, she can't help her master the cheating French mathematics and the British currency conversion system. The British currency is a big bit, so that the British themselves can't accept it. 1 pound is equal to 20 shillings, and 1 shilling is equal to 12 pence. Then, on February 1971, the Bank of England implemented a new currency system, and the unit of the auxiliary currency was changed. In new penny, 15 British pounds is equal to 1 new pennies, a disgusting conversion that the Brits themselves cannot accept. The magic world has no plans to reform gallon, sickle, and gnat yet, but this kind of thing can always be changed if you want to. This sinkhole, if you want to jump out, you can still jump out. French mathematics is a pit that cannot be jumped out of because this is directly linked to the language. In Chinese, the basic numbers are from 0 to 10, and more than 10 are combinations of various numbers. For example, 81 is 8, 10 and 1, and it is pronounced as 81. It is definitely a very reasonable and simple statement. As for the French spoken by the French, they also have their own versions from 0 to 10, but they also have corresponding words for 11 to 16, 17 changes back to 10 and 7, and so on until 19, and 20 has its own corresponding word. 21 to 29 becomes 20 plus XX. Annoyingly, it is strictly translated, 21 is 20 and 1, the others are 22, 23, etc. 21 has one more conjunction A than other numbers. Then 30, 40, 50, and 60 all have their own words. At 70 it becomes the sum of 60 and 10, and at 80 it's 420. Simply sick. If there is Kangji in France, then he must have been in high spirits when he created characters. So it's interesting when the French do numbers. 81 plus 79 equals 160. Chinese version. 81 plus 79 equals 160. French version. 81 plus 66 9 = 60. The difficulty of both learning basic addition and subtraction is not at the same level. So Alice is roughly equivalent to an idiot in math. What's worse is that, in terms of high EQ, she is a lively child, and in terms of low EQ, this guy doesn't like to study. When it comes to arithmetic and English classes, she will disappear without a trace, and this guy will not appear until Ji Lianu's swordsmanship class and Lu Ren's magic class. Most of the time, Lu Ren bit the bullet and did her math homework. As dumb as she may seem mathematically, Alice is definitely not a mediocre guy. She's extremely gifted at destructive magic. Like a sunny afternoon, Lu Ren is teaching Alice some basic spells in the study room of the castle. Alice is excitedly taking notes in the notebook with a pen. There will be no shortage of ones. Jelednu, who is lying on the other side of the table, yawned boredly, her ears trembling. In her opinion, these were all gaudy things, and a sword strike by herself was far more powerful than these offensive spells. As for other spells such as the floating spell, wouldn't it be enough to have hands? Why go to school? Kailinu was a little puzzled by this. Okay, you have mastered the key points of the levitating curse. Although your use is so-so, I assume that you have passed the test. Then you can show off your skills in front of your classmates. Next, in order to let you have a little the power of self-preservation, what I want to teach you is the explosion spell, A spell that I am personally good at? There are two versions of this spell, the low-power version Bombarda and the high-power version Thunderbolt Explosion Confringo. Let's start with the simple ones. You see my gestures clearly. Remember that the spell is Bombarda. You must speak clearly, otherwise the wizard Barufia will learn from the past. He said F instead of S, and found himself lying on the floor, with a bison standing on his chest. Lu Ren said, slowly waving his wrist in a mysterious arc in the air, but he held back his magic power at the last moment. He didn't want to destroy everyone's study room. It was a mess, even the weakened version of the explosive curse was not normal in his hands. Oh, I get it. Alice imitated Lu Ren's actions again, and she herself didn't have any hope. She had never succeeded in the previous spells. As soon as she finished speaking, a little red light appeared from the tip of the young lady's wand. Boom, boom, Putin. Lu Ren wiped off the white wall plaster on his face, and got out from under the table. Fortunately, he was experienced in many battles and had seen a lot, so he reacted immediately and rolled under the table, avoiding the first round of explosions, but he didn't expect that there would be a second round of explosions after the first blow at this time. Half of the study room had been destroyed, a huge gap appeared on the wall, and half of the bookshelf hung helplessly on the broken wall. Lu Ren. End of this chapter. Chapter 184 The Talented Alice. Wow, is this the explosive curse? It looks really good. Alice sighed from the bottom of her heart as she looked at the village, terraced fields and small hills outside. Yeah, it's nice. It's nice to live in the mountains. Wait a minute, it's not about the scenery. Lu Ren, miss, do you know, you just blew up your house. Jirinu stood up from the corner, brushed the dust off his ears, and with a particularly complicated expression on his face, he pulled back the bookshelf that was about to become a falling object. In all fairness, if the spell hit someone just now, something would really happen, even with her magically strengthened body. Then all three people in the room fell silent. Kailinu, don't you know how to repair the curse? Go and repair it. Looking at the mess of the place, Lu Ren felt that it was really not a problem. Anyway, a recovery would be enough. It might work, although I am not very good at life-related spells. After all, I was specially trained by Norbert last semester, so I still have some proficiency. Restored. Reparo, Lu Ren's magic wand flicked, and then the broken bookshelf on the ground and the decorations began to recover little by little, but when his spell swept across the big hole in the wall, his magic power quickly melted away like a thin frost under the scorching sun, not to mention the cracks on the wall. It's chipped, and there are several ornaments in the house that his repairing spells won't fix. Back to the original. Lu Ren cast the spell again, but it still had no effect. The walls of Augustipona Castle have been strengthened by magic and have a very high magic resistance, so it is extremely difficult to be destroyed. Similarly, it is also difficult to repair it after it is destroyed. Jirinu said expressionlessly. Lu Ren. I really shouldn't have taught this brat the explosive curse. I seem to hear a strange sound. The door of the study opened, and Spurious stuck his head in, and then he was dumbfounded. Is the ruins in front of him still his study? Sir, there is a little problem with the teaching of charms. Lu Ren smiled awkwardly but politely. At this time, Alice's eyes wandered, and she began to look at the scenery outside the window. Spulius also fell into a brief silence after understanding the cause and effect. Obviously, he was a little surprised by his daughter's talent. But he was also relieved. His daughter is talented, that's a good thing. Besides, what's the big deal? A repair spell can solve it. Then he drew out his wand, with a wave of confidence, back to normal. The broken magic items in the study were quickly repaired, and then the walls were restored bit by bit. Various bricks and stone debris flew from various places to fill the gaps in the wall, but soon his magic spell seemed to have encountered some resistance, and the progress of the repair suddenly stagnated. A smear of red flashed across Spurious' face, and the hand holding the wand trembled slightly. He increased the intensity of the magic power. The output was only to erase the magic power that was entrenched on the wall that prevented him from repairing the wall. Finally, the study was restored to its original state. Taking advantage of other people's inattention, Spurious wiped off the fine sweat from his forehead, and told Lu Ren that the teaching could continue. After Spurious left, Lu Ren took Alice back to the desk. Lu Ren couldn't calm down. The power of this spell is too outrageous. Can he have this effect with all his strength? And why is her explosion curse double acting? What is the mysterious power that finally resisted Mr. Spurious' healing spell? Out of curiosity, Lu Ren directly asked Alice how she felt about casting spells. How to cast spells. Just chant spells and gestures as you said, and then I felt that the wand was asking for magic power from me, so I stuffed a little into it. After the magic was fired, I felt that the connection between magic and me was still there, so I put shove as much mana as you can into it, and shoot the spell out with a whoosh. Lu Ren. Good fellows, on Imogen Roads, this guy Alice has a very high control over his own spells. It can actually add fire after launching. Under normal circumstances, the power of the spell is fixed after it leaves the wand. Sometimes the spell can be strengthened because it has not left the wand. In this case, the power can be increased by various means, such as the fire dragon breathing, absorb the free magic power in the air or output magic power by yourself, but it is quite rare for the spell cast out to provide magic power by itself. As for his other guess, he used another small experiment to verify it. He asked Alice to raise a fire with magic, and then he tried to extinguish the fire with clear water like a spring. It failed directly, and Alice's flame could not be easily extinguished with water, of course. Looking at Alice's expression, Lu Ren knew that this guy must be playing tricks in the dark, secretly sending magic power over. But it was not a big problem. Lu Ren directly used the magic script, and extinguished her flame with frost, but during the process of extinguishing, Lu Ren also clearly felt the resistance of the magic power. Alice's magic power will spontaneously resist the spell and not be destroyed. What an amazing talent! This makes her spell extremely difficult to clean up. Given time, her blazing flames will most likely not disappear until the magic power is exhausted and everything is burned. A flame that cannot be extinguished. After figuring out what was going on, Lu Ren continued teaching, but he consciously skipped the teaching of thunderbolt explosions. It seems that these offensive spells are not suitable for teaching indoors. In the following days, Lu Ren's life can be described as colorful. During the daytime, he would not leave after teaching Alice. Instead, he followed Alice to attend Kailenu's swordsmanship class. In the evening, he went to the library of Greyrit's house to read some precious books collection of books. Soon, it has been a week since he came to Greyrit's house. The forest battle between him and the Dark Wizard was also spread, which shocked the magic world. It is said that his bounty in the black market has increased because of this. The demand for unicorns is still there, but the difficulty of hunting has increased. Until one early morning when the morning mist was still there, the sun had just risen, and the heat had not completely dispelled the coolness of the night. Sextus pushed open the door of the study room. Lu Ren was sorting out the textbooks needed for the morning class in the study room, and helping Alice finish her math homework by the way. When Sextus came in, he closed the math problem book as fast as he could, but this little action still couldn't escape Sextus' sharp eyes. He snatched the exercise book, flipped through it, and his face immediately became gloomy. This kind of exercises, let her do it by herself in the future. A thunderous sound resounded over the study. End of this chapter. Chapter 185. Heading to the Ministry of Magic. Lu Ren was really reprimanded. However, it is indeed his fault to do homework for others, so there is nothing to say. However, Sextus did not come to check on his work. The reason for his visit was simple. The French Ministry of Magic decided to award Lu Ren a medal for his contribution to combating dark wizards. Pay the bounty. Sextus also said that Lu Ren may even be awarded the Order of Merlin for his contributions this time, and he has signed several old friends to submit the nominations for him. Although it sounds outrageous that it is possible to win the highest honor award in the wizarding world just by solving 2 dark wizards, but in fact, Lu Ren might actually get a medal of the Order of Merlin. One is that his introducer is very famous. Sextus, the old head of the pure blood family Greyrit, is also the holder of the Order of Merlin First Class. He also invited Dumbledore, and several, an old friend of the jazz group, was nominated together with him. The few signatures on the list alone can make the Wizengamot think carefully. Second, the medal of the Order of Merlin is actually pretty good. Yes, the highest honor in the wizarding world is depreciating rapidly, and this situation will not be alleviated until after the Hogwarts War. At present, there are few very poor winners who have directly lowered the gold content of the medal, and Cornelius Fudge is the first to bear the brunt. He actually awarded himself a medal of the Order of Merlin, First Class. This is similar to the awarding of the Victory Medal by the next-door neighbor, the Medal Emperor. There is also Peter Pettigrew, who was awarded the Order of the First Class for his courage in the face of Sirius Black. Then, can Lu Ren get one too? After all, he even completed a counter-kill in the face of 2 black wizards. Of course, the First Class medal is undoubtedly wishful thinking. Lu Ren is too young, and he has no background on the surface, but the remaining 2 ranks can be thought about. It stands to reason that the 3rd level Merlin medals correspond to specific types of contributions. The 1st level medals are used to commend excellent bravery or outstanding achievements in magic. The 2nd level medals are used to commend extraordinary achievements or efforts. The 1st class medal is used to recognize individuals who have contributed to our knowledge base or entertainment. That is to say, it was not a medal grade divided by contribution at the beginning, but when it was rated later, the Wizanglement did not come according to the requirements in this respect. It is to rank the winners according to the contribution of the winners. After all, the 1st level is better than the 3rd level. But Sextus was not willing to disclose the specific medals. He just asked Luren to go to the Ministry of Magic to find out. Ever since, Luren went to the French Ministry of Magic accompanied by Spurius. The 2 of them came to Paris, the fashion capital. The French Ministry of Magic is located on Place Furstenberg in the, arrondissement of Paris. The arrondissement of Paris is located in the heart of Paris, but the area around this square is extraordinarily quiet, with a feeling of being hidden in the city at the same time. The quieter environment ensures that the streets here are clean. Most streets in Paris are dirty, of course. It is also possible that industrious French wizards go to the ground every day to clean up the streets. Luren and Spurius came to the center of the square through apparition, where there was a street lamp. It was said that it was a fountain before, but after the fountain was damaged, the Muggles changed it into a street lamp. Around the street lamp are planted 4 trees as thick as an armrest. After they stepped into the center of the square, they showed their magic wands and coughed. The next moment, the roots of the trees around the street lights shot out, forming a birdcage-shaped elevator around Luren and the others, leading them to the underground France Ministry of Magic headquarters. The interior of the elevator is painted with a logo of the French Ministry of Magic, which is very similar to the style of the non-magic world in France. At first glance, there is no magic element at all, but it feels like the creation of a Muggle artist. The background is the French tricolor flag, and the right on the side is a person's profile sketch. Music-like wavy lines cross the middle of the logo, and come together at the top, and a small box is kept, which says 1790. This is the birth time of the French Ministry of Magic. At the bottom of the sign are written the words casting spells, summoning. It is obvious that the French Ministry of Magic, which was established during the French Revolution in 1790, was deeply influenced by the secular world. Its motto is the same as that of the Muggle government. Freedom, equality, fraternity are very similar at the same time. French iconic elements such as the French tricolor, cockade and Phrygian hat also appeared in the badge. To be honest, the emblem of the French Ministry of Magic is much more beautiful than that of the British Ministry of Magic. The British Ministry of Magic is a very weird-looking M, very similar to the trademark of the Muggle sports brand Kappa. After getting out of the elevator, the 2 came to brightly lit buildings with an Art Nouveau style. The overall style of the building was very similar to the Grand Palais in France, consisting of large pieces of glass and light green steel frames. At the same time, it is also reminiscent of the small pyramid in front of the Louvre. The basement level is the main hall of the French Ministry of Magic, a glass hall with a dome. There are already many wizards active in it, and every few seconds, 1 or more wizards appear here through various means other than apparition. The vaulted ceiling is painted with constellation patterns, but these constellation patterns are not the constellations of Muggles, but the shapes of various magical animals, many of which Luren can recognize at a glance, such as birds, snakes, fire dragons, Niffler and Hippogriff. There is an ornate cage elevator in the main hall, through which you can go to other floors. In the corner of the hall are several white marble statues, ranging from the ancient Greek period to the post-Renaissance works, one of which is clearly imitating Michelangelo's David, but wearing a wizard's suit robe. Luren noticed that they were all statues of witches. In the center of the hall, there is a circular bronze reception desk that looks very heavy. There is a beautiful French lady behind the reception desk to welcome visitors and ask them the purpose of their visit. Luren, Spurius Grellet, came for the award and have an appointment. Spurius reported his intention. The receptionist lady took out a notepad and wrote the names of the 2 on it, and then the notepad started to turn the pages rapidly, and finally stopped at the appointment record of the 2, and very considerately changed the words to become red. The young lady took a look. Yes, that's right. The minister is already waiting for you 2 at the Department of Magic on the 2nd floor. The 2 of them didn't stay long, and took the elevator directly to the 2nd basement floor. The 2nd basement floor was a bit like a huge shopping mall. It was a large ring-shaped structure with upper and lower floors. The employees of the Ministry of Magic work here, and the ring is surrounded by a circular platform on the upper level, where visitors can see the scene of the employees working. To be honest, this office scene is terrible. End of this chapter. Chapter 186, Medal of Valor. After getting out of the elevator, a creature resembling an Egyptian hairless cat appeared in front of them, but its eyes were big and protruding, just like Ultraman's eyes, but the color was blue. The civet, the guard of the French Ministry of Magic. Spurious introduced it for Lu Ren. It's not a very dangerous magical animal, as long as you don't have any malice in your heart. The civet led them into a room, and then disappeared into a wisp of smoke. There are already several people waiting inside the room. The leader was a witch who looked similar to Professor McGonagall, and Lu Ren recognized her. She was the current French Minister of Magic, Monica Dupont. The Daily Prophet had previously reported her conversation with Fudge. Beside her were 3 other people, 2 elderly witches and Dumbledore. The French Ministry of Magic is full of yin and yang is weak. Lu Ren couldn't help but want to complain, but this idea just popped up, and Monica Dupont glanced at him. These 2 are not employees of the headquarters. These 2 are the veterans of the Wizengamot. This is the examiner of the Wizarding Examinations Authority, Griselda Marchban, and this is Amelia Susan Burns, the current head of the Department of Law Enforcement of the Ministry of Magic. In fact, the concentration of British people in this room seems to be a little higher. Monica showed a slightly stiff smile. Lu Ren, Greek letter sigma, degree Cyrillic letter de degree, careless. Lu Ren quickly activated occlumency. Dumbledore showed a warm smile. Ms. Dupont is an excellent legilimator. Every time I meet her, I think of an old friend. They are all born masters of legilimency, able to see through other people's emotions and ideas. Are you still used to life at the Greyrett family? Very good, Professor. Spulius on the side stepped forward quickly, gave Monica a face-to-face salute, and then shook hands with the wizards present in turn. The next few people chatted for a while, and Lu Ren was shocked to learn that Sildenmarch had once served as Dumbledore's new Transfiguration and Charms examiner, so she is at least 1 year older than Dumbledore, and considering the particularity of the examiner profession, she may be much older than Dumbledore, and may be 120 years old, a real living fossil. Speaking of longevity, is there a theoretical limit to how long humans can live? Humans have limits. Human cells cannot divide indefinitely, and the limit of the number of divisions is about 52 to 60 times. After reaching this limit, the cells will stop renewing until apoptosis calculated according to the 2.4-year cycle of normal somatic cell division. The limit of human lifespan is about 124 to 144 years, and wizards are the group most likely to be exposed to this limit. Of course, wizards also have life extension methods such as the Philosopher's Stone and Horcruxes, which can easily break the life limit. Albus, this kid reminds me of you back then. You just graduated from 1st grade and you were able to defeat 2 dark wizards. If it wasn't for that aggressive old baboon from Greylett's family who assured me again and again, I wouldn't believe it. Yes. Maccaben turned around and brought the topic back to Lu Ren. Spulius on the side showed an awkward but polite smile, but the old baboon, it seemed to fit his father's temperament quite well. Ms. Silda, I'm actually surprised that he can do this. Dumbledore's tone was very relaxed and cheerful, but those dark wizards are indeed getting more and more rampant, aren't they? The power of evil is expanding, and what's more terrible is that some dark wizards and muggles are colluding together. Bones added, this has sharply increased our risk of being exposed to muggles. So for this kind of black wizard, we must spare no effort to eliminate it. Monica ended the topic, I have proposed a motion to increase the bounty for these people. Son, you have done a very good job, and there will be a few reporters in a while report. Next, she brought the people present to the meeting room next door. To Lu Ren's shock, it was already full of reporters. After a cursory look, there were probably nearly 20 people. The leading reporter, Lu Ren, saw clearly that it was Jean-Pierre who had met once. Although the female reporter next to him, Lu Ren, did not know her, he also guessed her identity. She was dressed in a magenta gown, with delicate, stiff, curly hair, a pair of bejeweled glasses, an alligator handbag on her lap, and 2-inch-long, red nails. Nails, Lu Ren knew at just one glance that she should be the Rita Skeeter. The meeting room is also very formally arranged. It looks like the Foreign Ministry's speech scene, except that a small table is replaced by a long table with 7 chairs. There is a corresponding name in front of each chair. Dumbledore is in the center, with Lou Ren on the left and Monica on the right. Next to Monica are Magibin and Burns, and the seat next to Lou Ren is reserved for Stanley Prius and a young employee of the Ministry of Magic, who appears to be a clerk or interpreter. After everyone was seated, Monica began her speech. This is the French Ministry of Magic, welcome. I am deeply saddened by the actions of the Dark Wizard and empathize with the pain of the victims. The French Ministry of Magic will accompany all French wizards along the way. In this incident, there has been a collusion between wizards and muggles. Now, dark wizards have substantially threatened the existence of the magic world. Therefore, I propose to increase the intensity of the strike against them. I hope that the Ministry of Magic of various countries can unite action, establish the International Auror Federation, and increase the bounty of dark wizards. Finally, after a long paragraph of clichés, Monica showed her own purpose. She tried to establish an organization similar to Interpol. Such an institution is used to combat the increasingly rampant black wizards. Of course, at the end of her speech, she also praised Lou Ren and thanked him for his contribution. Then, under the flashing lights of the reporters, she handed Lou Ren a money bag containing 3,000 galleons. Stus finally decided to send Camo to Azkaban, and then personally pinned a medal on the robe on his chest. In order to commend Mr. Lou Ren for his outstanding contribution to the magic world, we have decided to award him a Medal of Bravery. The top of the medal is a red, white and blue tricolor ribbon, with a delicate six-pointed star attached to it. The upper three corners read Spellcasting, Charming, Summoning, and the lower three corners read Liberty, Equality, Fraternity. It is a line of small characters, awarded to the courageous Mr. Lou Ren. Then she shook hands with Lou Ren, and the surrounding reporters captured their actions on camera. End of this chapter. Chapter 187, an interview with Rita Skeeter. After Monica's speech was over, it was time for the reporters to answer questions. After a series of unnutritious questions and answers, today's meeting finally came to an end. What the reporters asked was empty words, and Monica's answers were useless. The international organization she envisioned was not so easy to build, and it would be good if she could complete her entire ruling career. After the meeting ended, Lou Ren stood up as fast as he could. He wanted to leave in a hurry, but he was a step too late. The reporter from the Daily Prophet ran really fast, and he was still caught by Rita S. at the exit of the meeting room. Kit blocked. Rita Skeeter quickly flashed to the door with an agility that didn't match her figure, and then blocked the door firmly with the momentum of one woman. Should be the one who shuts the door. Okay, Mr. Lou Ren, my name is Rita Skeeter, and I am a special correspondent for the Daily Prophet. I once published a best-selling book, Armando Dippet, Master or Idiot. You can call me Mrs. Rita, of course. It's perfectly fine to call me Skeeter. Can I give you an exclusive interview? As soon as Lou Ren heard the title of the book, he subconsciously refused to accept the interview. It turned out that this guy already had a criminal record. He thought that Rita Skeeter was only aiming at Dumbledore, but it turned out that he had already aimed at the headmaster of Hogwarts. In fact, what Lou Ren didn't know was that this guy had written biographies for 3 principals successively, namely, Armando Dippet, Master or Idiot, The Life and Lies of Albus Dumbledore, and Snape, Villain or Saint. It's hard to imagine why this kind of person was not crushed to death as a bug. Moreover, she is surprisingly courageous, or in other words, she is particularly good at a gentleman deceives others. She not only talks nonsense in the biographies of the dead, but also dares to slander the living. In 2017, Rita Skeeter published a book titled Man or Beast. Newt Scamander's new book, as usual, is full of bullshit, but Newt, who was also forced, clarified in the new version of Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. Really, Lou Ren felt that if Mad Eye wanted to show the killing curse with bugs in the 4th grade, he would have offered to provide him with one. But if you don't accept this kind of interview, Rita Skeeter won't dare to make it up. Of course she dares. The only people she doesn't dare to mess with are those ruthless characters. Watching people cook is her forte. Yes. Lou Ren agreed after thinking for a while, but for the sake of rigor in answering, I hope that I can be interviewed with Mr. Spurious. Rita Skeeter is obviously not very willing, that is to say, Spurious is much quieter than his father, otherwise she would definitely not agree. After thinking for a while, she agreed to Lou Ren's request. Then, she grabbed Lou Ren's arm, and Lou Ren felt as if he had been hooked by Thresh, a robot, or Jean-Qui's hook, and was involuntarily dragged to a small cubicle by Rita Skeeter. Actually booked a cubicle in advance. It looks like this guy came prepared. Come on, Dear, sit down. Rita Skeeter enthusiastically pulled a chair over for Lu Ren, and then unceremoniously occupied the second chair left in the room. As for Sepulius, Rita Skeeter hoped that he could leave with a sense of humor. Of course, this kind of embarrassing situation in the Muggle world can't trouble a wizard. Spurious pulled out his wand, changed into a cushion, and then sat cross-legged on the cushion, watching the two of them quietly dialogue. Well, let me try. She opened her crocodile bag and pulled out a long, frighteningly green quill and a roll of parchment, which she spread out in the compartment on the little table, and then she put the nib in her mouth and sucked for a moment. Don't you think that's a little unhygienic? What? Rita Skeeter's train of thought was interrupted. I mean, isn't it a little unhygienic for you to suck the nib of the quill directly like this? Rita Skeeter, oh this. Young man, your thoughts are so clear that my rhythm was interrupted by you. This is the first time for Rita Skeeter to encounter such a situation. Her previous interviewers were either afraid of her because of her name and the daily profit behind her, or because she only wanted traffic and ignored the facts. His brushwork is full of hostility towards her, but as long as there are emotional fluctuations, it is easy for her to catch her and find a loophole. But today this little guy is different from everyone else. What he cares most about is hygiene. It's like I said that I kill people without blinking an eye, but you asked me if your eyes are dry? Rita Skeeter, degree. Ink is a kind of mucilage-like substance with a certain fluidity containing pigment or dye, usually a mixture of pigments, binders, solvents, additives, etc., and some inks are even made of metal, walnut shells or seeds. Dyes. Of course, there are also some inks that use marine animals such as cuttlefish and octopus. If the ink comes from the Central Plains, it may also use ink made of carbon. Lu Ren talked eloquently. So what are you trying to say? Rita Skeeter was at a loss. So what I want to say is that the ink is not necessarily clean. You just sucked it. You may have eaten some carbon, or octopus ink, or heavy metals. This is the worst case scenario. Heavy metals will be huge damage your health. Lu Ren is actually talking about some sensational and eye-catching opinions in the way of popular science by the parents group. Talk about toxicity without dosage. It is a hooligan, not to mention that wizards, such metaphysical creatures, cannot be used by normal science angle to understand. However, the Rita Skeeter in front of her is not as knowledgeable in all kinds of common sense as those ants in the parent group who believe in various folk remedies, so she really believed it and was fooled into it by Lu Ren. Heavy metal poisoning is very dangerous. Heavy metals can cause irreversible changes in the structure of proteins in the human body, commonly known as denaturation, which affects the function of tissue cells and thus affects human health. To give a very simple example, after the enzymes in the human body are denatured, they will, without the ability to catalyze chemical reactions, the carriers on the surface of the cell membrane cannot transport nutrients and discharge metabolic waste, and myosin and actin cannot complete muscle contraction, so cells in the body cannot obtain nutrients, remove waste, and cannot produce energy. With structural breakdown and loss of function, the skin will deteriorate, lose its luster, and become pitted. Surely you can understand this simple truth. Lu Ren launched the offensive of the British civil servants. If you don't want a person to understand what you mean, then use a long single sentence, and add a very simple and easy to understand sentence at the end. Of course, a lot of advanced vocabulary must be stuffed into the long single sentence. Rita Skeeter? Is this guy speaking English? End of this chapter. Chapter 188. She still has to thank me. Rita Skeeter would be a ghost if she could understand that passage. Many European and American Muggles who grew up with happy education or Central Plains Muggles who skip compulsory education can't understand them. How can a magician who has never received happy education understand these words? Protein, enzyme, denaturation, what and what is this? She was dumbfounded, but she was too embarrassed to ask Lu Ren, but she could hear the last sentence clearly. It is harmful to the skin. This will not work. She quickly took the quill out of her mouth. Then how can we solve the problem of heavy metal poisoning? This time Rita was the rare real question. Lu Ren pointed out a clear path for her. People in Cheyennes who believe that everything can be cured with cow urine, and all kinds of intractable diseases and physical discomforts can be solved with cow urine. Cow urine can not only cure diseases, but also beautify the skin and strengthen the body's immunity. It can be said to be a real treasure. As we all know, Cheyennes is a country with a long history and a long history. Doesn't that mean that there are many mysterious folk remedies, and it's okay for 1 billion people to drink it for so many years, which shows that it can indeed be drunk, And so many people are drinking it, doesn't it prove that this thing is really useful? Luren's deduction is well-founded and forms a logical closed loop. Now Rita Skeeter is left with two choices, letting heavy metal damage her delicate skin or drinking cow urine. Very difficult to choose. Of course, she is not a fool, she still has great doubts about this matter. I suspect that you are lying to me, but I have no proof. Seeing this, Luren said that you can go to Cheyenne-Sioux to inquire about it. I'm not lying to you, Cheyenne-Sioux people use this method of course. You can also try drinking some gang's water, which is said to cleanse the soul. Rita Skeeter was skeptical, and decided to go to Cheyenne-Sioux during her next vacation to investigate, but a snib must never be sucked again. This habit has to be changed. Rita Skeeter has a habit of sucking on a quill before an interview, which she thinks helps her think, but as of today, she is determined to get rid of this habit. Thank you, it took a lot of time. Let's get back to the topic. Ahem, my name is Rita Skeeter, and I'm a reporter for the Daily Prophet. As soon as she finished speaking, the quill pen that had been standing vertically on the parchment paper began to write in a fluttering manner, and the tip of the pen slid across the parchment paper, writing lines that looked extremely beautiful. Luren glanced at it, and it was written on the paper, "My name is Rita Skeeter, a nationally known best-selling author, and a special contributor to the Daily Prophet." Although the subject matter has changed, the language is still as sharp as before. Whether it's the most glamorous reporter or the best reporting, there's only one answer, the glamorous golden tulip of British wizarding, Rita Skeeter. Luren. Fuck, would the author of zhongayuan.com be willing to exchange an equal weight of gold for such a pen? With this kind of pen, wouldn't it be easy to write, characters every day? It's a pity that I can't change it. The condition of the sum today is average. Rita Skeeter was speechless slightly. She tore off the parchment, crumpled it up and stuffed it into her handbag. "Excuse me, Mrs. Rita, this pen is so beautiful. Where did you buy it? It feels really super practical." Luren looked at the quill pen that can talk nonsense, and came up with a bold idea. It seems next semester, he will meet a particularly nonsense sacrifice. Oh no, the defense against the dark arts professor. The homework style assigned by Lockhart is also biased towards nonsense. Wouldn't it be great to have such a pen? Rita Skeeter, it's the first time I've seen such a joke. A witch like you is worthy of this quill. Such a talking child. The words were open and clear, and Rita was in a happy mood, so she told him the origin of the pen. The stationery store in Diagon Alley sells them. The price is a bit expensive. It takes nearly 100 gallons to buy one, but if you give me Rita's name, the store owner will definitely give you a discount. Okay, we really should start the interview. Mom, I hope that you can write this interview by yourself. After all, this is the first time I have been interviewed. Your level is so much higher than this one. You should write it. Or, you without this pen, will the level actually drop? Luren must not allow Rita Skeeter to use this pen to write reports. Everyone knows that this quill can turn some very common language into hype and unrealistic sentences. The reports written with it can't see it. Reluctantly, Rita Skeeter stuffed the quill back into her handbag, groped in it for a while, and pulled out a new quill. This one was plain black, inlaid with various gems. Come on, let's start, Luren. What is the reason for your conflict with a black wizard? Why do you want to fight them? Luren. Why else? Of course it's because they want to kill and seize treasure, and if I don't resist, I will be sold to a certain family to sell my ass. But Luren still maintained a calm smile. This is a good question. Dark wizards are the common enemy of all wizards. I will respond to the call of the Ministry of Magic of various countries to crack down on crimes committed by black wizards more resolutely. I sincerely hope that all countries will. The Anti-Dark Wizard Agency of the Ministry of Magic can further strengthen security cooperation in this area, enhance the agency's operational capabilities, jointly respond to security threats inside and outside the region, and maintain regional peace, stability and development. Rita Skeeter? Is it the way I opened it wrong? Why do I feel like I'm still interviewing the French Minister of Magic? You're right. Who were you with that night? What drove you to protect that person? Rita Skeeter hurriedly jotted down the cliché, and threw out the second this question. She hopes to get some explosive gossip out of it. That's not the problem. No matter who is behind me, my determination to fight against dark wizards will never waver. I think that for dark wizards, a malignant tumor in the wizarding world, if they are found on the street, they will be killed on the street, and they will be found in the toilet. Just drown them in the toilet. Before the reporter on the opposite side could calm down, Lu Ren directly asked back, "Let me ask you a question. If you also met arc wizards that night, would you fight them?" Faced with the only problem with this kind of answer, Rita Skeeter can only say that she is definitely incompatible with them, but her ability is limited, and so on. In her heart, her attitude was clear. Naturally, she ran as fast as she could. Who would foolishly stay and confront the Dark Wizard? That's the job of the Auror. Just when she was about to continue asking questions, the door was pushed open, Rita's appointment time came, and the interview was forced to end. End of this chapter. Chapter 189, The Hidden Square. Subscribe for the third watch. Rita Skeeter looked reconciled, but helpless. Who told her that the appointment time was not long enough? Just as she was about to leave the room, Spurious, who had been silent by the side, suddenly spoke. "Is the editor-in-chief of the Daily Prophet still Barnabas Guffey?" Rita turned her head and glanced at him. Her eyes were full of surprise. She didn't expect that a bumpkin from the back country of France knew her editor-in-chief. "When I was young, I met Barnabas Guffey, who traveled to the mainland. It has been 5 years in a blink of an eye. Is he still in good health?" Rita also became serious in a rare way. "The editor-in-chief is still very strong." "That's good. Can I take a look at this press release after it's written?" "I can't wait." Spurious stretched his waist and made his request. Rita Skeeter's complexion suddenly became ugly. She took a deep breath, and when she let it out, she put a smile on her face again. "No problem, I'll write now, you wait." Then, she spread the parchment on the wall, leaned against the wall and began to write the manuscript. In less than 5 minutes, a press release with hundreds of words was written. Spurious took the manuscript, read it through, and handed it back. As expected of Rita Skeeter, this writing skill is really amazing and well written. With a professional smirk on her face, Rita Skeeter took the manuscript and stuffed it into her purse, then quickly shook hands with Lu Ren and left quickly without looking back. Spurious didn't take this small role seriously. He looked at Lu Ren with great interest and asked, "Your way of dealing with the media is really good." Lu Ren stroked his hair. "When facing the media, you must use this kind of attitude and rhetoric. If you have nothing to say, then say you have nothing to say. If you have to say something, then no matter what they ask, just express your own opinion. If the reporter repeatedly asks, then say the question is not here, or ask back and say this is a good question, but I also have a question." Lu Ren talked about how to deal with the media. The two looked at each other and smiled knowingly. "You have accomplished a lot in dealing with the media." Next, Spurious was not in a hurry to return to Augustipona Castle. He asked Lu Ren if he wanted to go to the French Diagonale Place Cache. In this regard, Lu Ren naturally wanted to see it very much. This opportunity is too rare. There will be no such shop after passing this village. To his surprise, when they stepped out of the gate of the Ministry of Magic, Kylinu and Alice were already waiting outside the door. Kirinu was also wearing a hooded robe, trying to make himself not so conspicuous. "Alice needs to buy a wand." Spurious explained to Lu Ren. The little girl next to him made a grimace directly, and it could be seen that leaving the castle made the child very happy. "What do you think my wand will be made of?" Alice bouncing forward, looking extremely happy. Today's Alice is dressed like a little muggle girl from a rich family, a white sun hat on her head, a beige woolen coat, and a pair of black boots on her feet. The long silver hair was loosely scattered on the shoulders. It is said to be casually loose, but it is definitely not disheveled. Her hair is as smooth as brocade, and it looks like it has been carefully taken care of. The first impression is that such beautiful hair really exists. The whole little girl is as exquisite as an elf walking out of an anime, as if a two-dimensional character broke through the dimensional wall and came to reality. If you haven't been with her day and night, you will have this illusion. No one knows that beneath the angel's appearance lies the essence of a naughty little devil. Maybe it's Vila hair. You are as beautiful and willful as them. Lu Ren felt that it was unlikely that this guy's core was not Vila hair. She was simply a little Vila. Wait, an idea flashed in Lu Ren's mind. He seemed to have grasped some trick. "I have been in the castle for so many days, but I seem to have never seen Alice's mother?" Exclamation mark. He looked at Spurious, who was doting on his face, and a bold idea emerged in his heart. "Isn't it? This quiet guy wouldn't have played so wild in his youth, would he?" This is no longer a species, but thinking about his father's virtues, everything seems to make sense. Although the bold thoughts in his heart came one after another, he didn't say them out. He calmly analyzed and answered Alice's question. "It is not the wizard who chooses the wand, but the wand chooses the wizard." The personality of the wizard will be reflected in the core of the wand. For example, the one with the core of the fire dragon's heart nerve is powerful. It is easier to learn spells, but it is also easier for others with service. Forget it, it sounds like a wand only used by teenagers. Alice dismissed the idea when she heard that she was serving other owners, joking, how could she accept a wand that was not firm? Lu Ren had a big head, and he was not a cane maker, so he couldn't remember the characteristics of the cane core so clearly, but he couldn't bear Alice's urging, so he could only bite the bullet and continue talking. Vila hair can also be used as a wand core, but such wands are very sensitive and capricious. Therefore, the British wand master Ollivander refused to use this material to make wands. At the same time, Lu Ren glanced at Spurious quietly, and found that his expression was normal and he didn't respond. Alice's eyes lit up. Does that mean only very beautiful girls can use it as a magic wand? Ah, it seems to be right. But maybe you need to have a little Vila blood? Lu Ren's eyes wandered for a moment, and he had the impression that the person who used Vila hair as a stick cord did indeed have Vila blood, and use your own or your own relative's hair? What is your core? Alice was curious as always. I have two wands, one is the horn of a unicorn, and the other is the hair of a hermit. Why can you have two wands? Seeing Alice's appearance, she also wanted to have two wands. The corner of Lu Ren's mouth twitched. If you are recognized by two magic wands at the same time, you can naturally have two magic wands. They chatted all the way and went all the way, and finally came to the Montmartre Heights in Paris, where Diagon Alley in France, Hidden Square is located. Of course, it's called a highland, but it's actually not that steep. It feels like a small high slope, but you can indeed overlook the scenery of Paris when you climb up. End of this chapter. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 190 Cosma Acacho's Wand Shop. They came to a street in Montmartre. There was a bronze statue at the end of the street. When Lu Ren and the others got close to the statue moved. It nodded slightly to Lu Ren, and then gently unscrewed the base, revealing a staircase. When Lu Ren and the others walked through the stairs, they came to Diagon Alley in France, Hidden Square. Slightly different from Diagon Alley in the UK, Hidden Square in France is slightly larger. The architectural style of the entire square is the European architectural style from the end of the 19th century to the outbreak of the First World War. This period is also known as the Beautiful Age. Europeans plundered wealth from all over the world for their enjoyment. Art and economy developed rapidly under the water of gold and the heritage of other civilizations. Of course, after the outbreak of World War I, all this is gone. The irony is that after the beginning of the First World War, as the good days of Europe came to naught in the flames of war, other semi-colonial societies started a golden age. What an irony. The Hidden Square is made up of three streets, Rue Richer, Rue Gerard Constance and Avenue Voltaire. Walking into the square, Lu Ren felt a breath of the Industrial Revolution blowing in his face, and Diagon Alley has two different atmospheres, where it is more magical, and here is more industrial. There are even street lights around the Hidden Square. Looking back, the stairs when they came had disappeared, and they were in the commercial center where people came and went. It was afternoon at this time, and the lazy French wizards had just finished their lunch and were walking in twos and threes in cafes and pedestrian streets. Lu Ren and the others were standing by the window of a shop called Flying Hats. There was really a hat flying inside, and a person dressed as a clerk was holding a net bag and trying to catch it. When they walked to the main entrance, Lu Ren saw a table at the entrance with a dirty sorting hat. Yes, Hogwarts has the same sorting hat. Seeing someone passing by, the hat twisted, cracked a gap, and shouted, "Young people's first wizard hat, look for the flying hat." It started in the 19th century. Lu Ren felt that it was necessary for Hogwarts to charge this store little copyright fee. He even couldn't help thinking that if Fred was here, he might find a way to trade the hat and the sorting hat. It must be very interesting. You don't need to buy hats, you already have a closet of hats. Spurious grabbed Alice, who was about to sneak in, and took her away without any explanation. They walked on the street, and Lu Ren looked around all the way, just like when he went to Diagon Alley for the first time. There were fresh shops everywhere, there was a cafe facing the street, and many French wizards were sitting on the terrace, sitting in a chair with a day's newspaper in hand, and a small cup of coffee on the table. A classic combination of newspaper and coffee that the French spend the whole afternoon with, and then look at the newspaper at dinner time, content and chat with friends for hours. Yes, this group of people can eat a meal for 2 hours. Next to the cafe is a pharmacy, which is full of jars of strange medicinal materials and various brightly colored powders, and also sells small gadgets such as scales. Lu Ren also saw a unicorn horn in the window, with the words "big discounted price, 20 galleons per piece" written on it. I don't know if a unicorn's horn can grow back after it's cut off. Lu Ren came up with a bold idea, because just looking at this price, the only horn and a few tail hairs of a unicorn cost the same. I'm afraid this horn, like deer antler, is a renewable resource. They soon came to the intersection of 3 streets, where the destination of this trip was Cosma Ikacha Wand Shop. Of course, along the way, Spurious was like a husky walker, holding his daughter's hand tightly, lest Alice would run away as soon as he let go, so he made a lot of promises, saying that after buying the wand, she would definitely go shopping with her. Different from Ollivander's small workshop, Cosma Akager's wand shop is decorated quite magnificently. On the black door, the name of the shop is written in bronzing characters, Cosma Akager, and there is a sign beside it. It read, Cosma Akacho, ordering the most elegant ones for the French. There is also a line of small words below, the real shop that started making sticks in 1614, the true is still flickering. Lu Ren suspected that it was implying a certain wand shop, but Lu Ren had no clear evidence. It's funny that the word for wand in French is the word for baguette, so the French wand literally translates to magic baguette instead. It responded to the joke, what is the real weapon of France? Baguette. Many words in the magic world are very interesting to Lu Ren. They can maintain a high quality thanks to Zhang Yin's translation, such as magic wand, which should actually be called magic stick, such as Draco Malfoy. Really, if you want to disgust him, you can indeed call him Draco Horse Manure. It's all transliteration anyway. I'll give you a few bad words for the villain. What's wrong? Walking into the store, the light suddenly dimmed, and the windows in the store were covered with black curtains, causing the interior to have normal lighting. There are 2 tables on both sides of the door in the store, and there are stacks of wands on each of them. The wands were stacked neatly, forming a triangular cone shape. A quill and a piece of parchment floated out and floated in front of them. Lu Ren glanced at it. It was a form with options such as date of birth, weight, zodiac sign, and gender. Master Akacho claims to be one of the 3 major wand makers in Europe, the remaining 2 being Master Ollivander in England and Master Grigorovich in Germany. He is used to asking customers to fill out his exclusive questionnaire first, and then provide customers with a batch of wands to choose from according to their answers. Spurious introduced Lu Ren to this French wand master. However, he lowered his voice again, and commented on his understanding of the reasons for the fame of the 3 to Lu Ren. Ollivander in England is famous for his family being a wand maker for generations. Grigorovich in Germany is because of he declared to the public that he was imitating the Elder Wand, and the French Akacho was only the top 3 wand makers in France, and his status outside of France is somewhat controversial. But this master has always been the supply of wands for both Britain's teachers and students Shuang, and even under the tutelage of Shakoba Wolf, one of the 4 major wand makers in North America, so his level is definitely top-notch, but there are a few less gimmicks. While he was giving Lu Ren the popular science, Alice had already filled out the questionnaire, and the questionnaire floated back by itself, disappearing into the shadows. After a while, a door on Lu Ren's left opened, and an old voice came, "Please come in, distinguished guest." Alice took the lead and walked into the room. End of this chapter. Chapter 191. God, Fu, Different, Reward. After entering the house, Lu Ren's first impression of the place was that it looked like a traditional Chinese medicine shop. In the middle of the room was a counter, behind which was an old man, and against the wall was a large chest with many small drawers. Although it was daytime, the house was still pitch black except for the dim light of a few oil lamps. The old man behind the counter wore a pair of black-rimmed glasses. His gray hair was combed into a small braid behind his head, but his temple hair was not combed in, making his head look big. The old man also had a hooked nose, but he looked kindly overall. Undoubtedly, this is the owner of the shop, the wandmaker Dominique Acaxio. Good afternoon. He raised his head, put his hand on his glasses, greeted Lu Ren and the others, and then narrowed his eyes slightly. Is that you? Spurious. I remember you. You ordered me before your wand, mahogany and Vela hair? The combination of strong and durable, highly protective body and sensitive and capricious core is impressive. That's right, but the past has gone with the wind, and today I'm here to buy a wand for my daughter. Spurious waved his hand with a calm expression. Only Alice was left at a loss. Why can my dad, who is so ugly, have a wand with viola hair? Luren, eat melons, eat big ones boss, come on a bench. Dominic Acaxio glanced at Alice, and his eyes stayed on her silver white hair for a while. Then, you today. Come here to see if there's a wand for her. Okay. Dominic Acaxio took out several boxes from under the counter and opened them one by one. I read the little girl's questionnaire. How should I put it? I think those. He searched the vocabulary in her stomach, tried to express it tactfully. She is good at coping with grand scenes, or the wand core with weird spirits is very suitable for her. Luren felt that this Kingmaker was very good at talking. Isn't it because your daughter is rather savage and violent, and he described her as decent otherwise? If he has read Jin Yong's novels, he might say that Alice's wand is more suitable for a character like Zhao Minimum. Here, try this one. 15 inches, wetland werewolf hair core, elderberry body. He took out a slender wand from a box raised. Luren? Poisonous? Right, this one looks very similar to the legendary old wand in appearance. Spurious face darkened even more. Luren didn't understand the meaning of using wetland werewolf hair as the core of the stick. He could understand that this kind of stick core has an affinity for black magic. Try. The old man showed embarrassment. After all, it was almost as if his father said that his daughter had the potential of a dark wizard. Fortunately, Alice didn't react after getting the wand. Everyone present breathed a sigh of relief. Dominic quickly put away half of the boxes on the table, and the corners of Spurious' eyes twitched as he watched. He really wanted to know what his daughter had written in that questionnaire, which made Dominic feel that she was so black. Wizard potential. Well, try this one. It's an out-of-print item. It's the work of Tiago Quintana, one of the 4 masters of North America. Each of his wands contains a white river monster from Arkansas. Translucent spines, the spells cast are powerful and elegant. But only Quintana knew how to trap the white river monster. He kept this secret until his death, so after his death, this recipe was also used by him. It was brought into the grave, and the production of wands using the spine of the white river monster as the core has been discontinued. Perhaps because what he just did was a little too much, Dominic took out a copy of the treasure at the bottom of the box. This kind of out-of-print stuff can indeed be called the treasure of the town store. Tiago Quintana's works are all streamlined and slender wands, and this one is no exception. It is 16 inches long and made of 1,000-year-old pine. Dominic took out a slender box. When Luren thought of his 2 9-inch magic wands, he felt a little ashamed. Your magic wands are so long. In the wizarding world, there is indeed a rather boring atmosphere. That is, to compare the length of wands with each other. This custom is really meaningless, but sometimes it is very insulting. After all, no wizard is willing to admit that he is shorter than others. Unfortunately, one of Luren's wands is, inches and the other is, inches. Few people's wands were shorter than his. In fact, most wizards' wands were over 10 inches. Only Fu Rong's wand was 9.5 inches, which was on par with Luren. The only known wand shorter than Luren's is Umbridge's 8 inch Zizun wand. But these are not problems. The wand can be increased by adding a handle or a handle later. This Mr. Lucius Malfoy is very experienced. However, the length of Luren's wand is very meaningful, beyond the comprehension of ordinary wizards. 9 is the ultimate number, and 95 is the supreme number. A wand of this length is very suitable for the Central Plains people. Alice picked up the out-of-print wand, but the wand began to tremble uncontrollably. It could be seen that the wand was afraid of something. It is obviously a dead object, but it can make people clearly see emotions, which is also a magical point of the wand. Dominic was lost in thought. It was the first time he had seen a wizard who could make a wand express such intense emotions. However, wizards with such characteristics are easy to deal with, as long as they provide them with a strong enough staff core. Son, let's get another one. Dominic opened a box on the counter. Cedarwood, Thunderbird tail feather, 12 inches. Wands using this core are difficult to master, but they are usually very powerful. The vast power, I hope your courage can control it. Alice took the wand, then raised it up, and saw red light burst out from the head of the wand. Lie down. Luren shouted heartbreakingly, and then quickly released an iron armor curse in front of him, followed by a boom. Alice's curse directly collapsed half of Dominic's back the wall. A large number of wands flew out of the cabinet and fell to the ground, and some wands were even broken in the explosion just now. My God. Dominic froze. It's really talented. Are all the skill points of this kid focused on destruction? Luren couldn't help sighing. Hogwarts' title of blasting ghost may have to be replaced. It can be said that Alice and this wand really fit together. She is really suitable for this kind of powerful wand. Since she is so talented in this area, why not try that one? Dominic looked at the bombed and collapsed cabinet, and a bold idea came to his mind. End of this chapter. Chapter 192. Why is there nothing in your shop? Actually, my master gave me a wand before I left. Dominic ignored the ones scattered on the ground. Anyway, the Grindelwald family will compensate, and more importantly than this is to give the wand find the owner. He put his hand on the floor, and soon a six-pointed star appeared on the floor, and then a box appeared in his hand. Every wizard thinks that using Thunderbird's tail feathers is the most powerful rod core in the world. This perception is wrong. Dominic gently stroked the box, his eyes full of memories. My teacher told the core of I solved there, founder of Alvermorny. The horned hydra horn is the most powerful core. Wands made from it are extremely powerful, and can sense parcel tongue and speak to the master issued an alarm. Dominic took out an extremely beautiful wand from the box. The wand was black and slender, with coiled protrusions faintly on the wand body, which looked like a snake coiled on it, and the tail of the wand was fixed. It has a handle with a red gemstone inlaid on it. A combination of ebony and horned water snake horn, 13 inches long, and the gem on the handle comes from the one on the forehead of the horned water serpent, which grants the wand wielder invisibility and flight. Luren, what? This magic wand is too powerful. Comes with flying ability and illusion spell? Of course, I need to tell you that the use of these two abilities is slightly limited. They consume a lot of magic power and have a short duration. These are their disadvantages. Children, pick them up and give them a try. Dominic pushed the wand to Alice. At the same time, a few iron armor curses were quietly released. The wand has been trembling since it got close to Alice, and a wave of excitement permeated the hearts of the people around it. When Alice picked up the wand, there was a faint sound of winds and thunder around her. She was about to wave it, but was stopped by Dominic and Spurious together. As long as you are not blind, you can see that Alice and the fit of this wand. Dominic put the wand back in the case. Thanks to your patronage, the wand costs, galleons, and the store loses, galleons. Luren, Greek letter sigma, degree Cyrillic letter de degree. Is this the Krypton Gold Warrior? Exclamation mark. It turns out that the magic world can also become stronger with Krypton Gold. Fortunately, the Grindelwald family is also a pure blood family with a long history. To them, galleons is not even a medium meaning. It is really a small meaning. Spurious paid the money happily, and then walked out of Cosma Acacho's one shop with everyone. The next step is pure shopping. Spurious and Kylenia walked around the hidden square with Alice. They first went to Hermal K's magic candy store and bought a lot of candies. After they came out with bags of candies such as Brittany unicorn horns, frog chocolate legs, snail slime, etc., Alice rushed into the mysterious crow on the opposite side. This is a family wizard pet shop. As for the bars, cafes and bookstores on the street, Alice would not even glance at them. Honey, what animal do you want as your pet? We have a new batch of Siberian owls in our store, which are very popular. The clerk saw that the business was coming, and hurried over to greet him. He could tell from a long distance that the little silver-haired girl was worth a fortune. The clothes on her body alone were worth at least 3-digit galleons. Alice looked at the shop. The shop was full of cages, and the air was filled with a strange smell of mixed animals at the same time. Almost all the animals were squeaking and hissing, making the store seem a little noisy. There are 2 wolf-like dogs in the cage at the door, lying there and biting something. If you look closely, you can see that they are eating dead rabbits. A huge toad squatted by the window, and with its breath, streams of clean steam spewed out. In addition, there are cats that can do various acrobatic moves, and a big tortoise with a red gem inlaid on its back that does not move. It is said that the gem is enchanted, and there is a space for the owner to rest inside. Parrots, as well as small animals such as snakes and badgers. The store doesn't make a great first impression, crowded, loud and dirty. Listening to the clerk's friendly introduction, Alice's eyes lit up. Siberian owls are so big, aren't they? The clerk smiled. It's just an owl from Siberia. It's about the same size as an ordinary owl, but it's hardy and can deliver letters in heavy wind and snow. Alice showed a disappointed look. Hey. The clerk said that it's okay, since we like bigger pets. We can provide Caucasian dogs and Maine Coon cats with cat-raccoon blood, which are big enough pets. Then can these 2 pets be tigers? Siberian tigers. Alice heard that there were indeed two very large pets in the store, and little stars appeared in their eyes. Luren? ? What do you want to do? Why beat a tiger? At this time, Fat Tiger sneezed in his den, waking up the unicorns next to him. The clerk has mixed feelings. If you can hit, you can, but maybe you can only hit the cub once. The clerk didn't dare to open his eyes and talk nonsense, mainly because the girl's only requirement was a Siberian tiger. This is the largest living feline in the non-magical world. Cats and dogs are two animals that can beat them to hell even with the enhancement of wizards. If it is the smallest tiger, the Sumatran tiger, maybe the Caucasian dog can compete with one or two. Even if it is the Sumatran tiger, it must be a female among them. The larger Caucasian dog can weigh 80 kilograms, and the smaller female Sioux who weighs about 75 kilograms. On paper, the two can still fight. Alice's disappointed expression was palpable. I can only bully tiger cubs if I buy it. Then are there any unicorns for sale here? Alice heard that Luren had a unicorn in his hand, so I should be able to buy one, right? This is also worthy of his identity money. The Grellet family is not short of money. Shopkeeper. Sorry, no. Are there no unicorns? Are there any fire dragons? The big ones that can fly and breathe fire. Sorry, no. I can't sell it to you in public, it's against the law. The mood of the clerk is like that of a hot pot restaurant owner who is uncomfortable when a customer asks for a plate of panda meat. Aren't you here to entertain Sagia? Then there are no thunderbirds, longhorned water snakes, or phoenixes. The clerk looked at Spurious, who came in together, and said that the shop is a small business, and there are not so many tricks. Spurious, baby, be good. Hogwarts freshmen can only bring owls, toads or cats to school. Then why can Luren bring a tiger to school? Spurious. Oh, why hasn't Luren been expelled for taking pets to school indiscriminately? How can I explain this? Good night, everyone. See you tomorrow at 9 o'clock. End of this chapter. Chapter 193, The Elder Scrolls. Luren coughed. My cat is actually a Siberian golden gradation cat. It's just that the food is very good, and it got a little fat. It has a certificate from the store. Alice, okay, it really is a problem with the store, then I'll go to Diagon Alley to buy it. Clerk. Shuzi is so brave, humiliate me too much. He actually said in front of me that he was going to another place to buy pets, and it was fine to go to another place, but he still went to the one in Diagon Alley. The clerk's eyes sharpened. Wait a minute. He stopped Alice, who was about to go out. I still have several kinds of magical animals in my store. You can go after reading them. The clerk thought, it seems that ordinary animals cannot attract their attention, and all kinds of powerful magical animals are restricted by law and cannot be sold, so they can only win by surprise. Common animals such as owls and cats should not be embarrassing, but something that is at the bottom of the box. Look. He took out a cage covered in black satin, then tore off the satin, revealing a dark, round, furry creature inside the cage. The creature was about the size of a bamboo rat, and looked like a big black mouse, but with a duck's mouth. It was stuffing a shiny beet into its stomach when the clerk pulled off the hijab. Sniff. You can usually see it in mines. They like shiny things. Goblins will use sniff to dig for treasure. Newt Scamander raised a sniff, and the sniff helps him defeated the mighty Dark Lord Grindelwald. The clerk excitedly introduced Zixu, and at the end he lowered his voice, as if he was talking about a shocking secret. Luren was speechless. Sir, it is not illegal to hide in the square. Please be cautious in your words and deeds. If you continue to speak such nonsense, the water meter will be checked by the saints. He was afraid that it would not be convincing to say so he opened the cage door, grabbed Zixu out like lightning, then scratched its belly with one hand, and then giggled. It seemed that the clerk scratched its itchy flesh, and it tried hard to stretch out its short claws to protect its stomach, but its fat body and short claws made it more than enough. After letting Zixu show off its cuteness for a while, the clerk grabbed it by its two hind feet, then shook it, and a large pile of glittering fake jewelry fell out of its stomach with a crackling crackle. Alice's eyes lit up. You can have this. After buying this, you can go treasure hunting everywhere. Luren had a bad premonition. Zixu was not suitable to be kept as a pet at home, because it would destroy everything around it in search of shiny items, and this little fat man is very flexible, and Newt Scamander, who is good at dealing with magical animals, has to work hard to catch the escaped Niffler. If it was easy to catch, the length of the Fantastic Beasts movie would be cut in half. And you're hunting for treasure in your own castle. Is it really interesting? Perhaps seeing the unhappiness of others, the clerk took out another big bottle, with a flame burning inside, and a small red lizard was rolling freely in the flame. This is a salamander that lives and feeds on flames. As long as the flame doesn't go out, it will continue to live. If you feed peppers to a salamander that leaves the flame regularly, it can live for up to 6 hours. This the variety of salamander is exclusively bred by us, and it can breathe fire. The color of the salamander will also change as the heat of the flame changes. This is only red, but when the flame is more vigorous, it will turn blue. Compared to Nixu, salamanders are obviously more suitable for raising at home, so on the way home, Alice had a crystal bottle in her arms, which contained a flame and a salamander. After returning from the Ministry of Magic, Lu Ren's life was back on track. Miss Alice is taught in the morning every morning, and after a hearty lunch at noon, there is a swordsmanship class in Jirenu, and then a dinner that is even more hearty than lunch in the evening. Lu Ren was completely at his disposal, and he usually spent his time in the library of Grellet's house. Of course, sometimes being entangled by Alice, he can only spend his time telling stories to children. The library of the Greyrett family is definitely worthy of the name of its 1,000-year-old pure-blood family. The oldest volume is even written on clay tablets in cuneiform characters. In addition to cuneiform writing, their family also has works of ancient Egypt and ancient Rome, but unfortunately, no one can understand what is said on it. After all, they are all dead writing. A peek at 1 or 2, his ancestors didn't understand this either. They all relied on guessing and asking, but the average wizard in ancient times was a riddle. The ancestors' original words, I understand every word of what he said, even if they are connected together, the ghost knows what he is talking about, so these few precious treasures are like dust. And what Lu Ren is looking at now is an ancient scroll collected by the Greyrett family. Of course it is a translated version by later generations. A senior of the Greyrett family 80 years ago kindly translated it into French. This also allowed Lu Ren to get a glimpse of the mystery. Contrary to Lu Ren's imagination, what is recorded in this scroll is not a powerful spell or a treasure trove, but more like a diary, which records the complaints of an ancient wizard at that time. Wizards were not the masters of the magical world. Goblins, elves, and dragons each had their place on the world stage, but wizards were more like supporting roles. The weak body, the long growth period and the unremarkable mana after adulthood made the wizards once reduced to the bottom of the food chain in the magic world, but the wizards forced their way out of the world by virtue of their magic wands and numbers. This scroll was written during the rapid rise of wizards. The owner of the scroll is an apprentice of a great mage, and he learns magic spells step by step on weekdays. As a result, one day, in the battle with the giant, he lost the girl he liked and the good friend he grew up with, so he desire for power, desire to become stronger, even if you give everything. His teacher told him that there are generally different ways of thinking about becoming stronger. One is to specialize in the research of magic and runes, and develop more powerful and treacherous spells to improve their strength. The second is to find a way to obtain the power of some powerful magical creatures, that is, to fuse the blood of magical animals. This method is extremely dangerous, and if you are not careful, you will die miserably or become a monster. Of course, some wizards find another way, and have a relationship with some magical animals beyond friendship, so that their offspring will be born strong. The third is to cultivate feelings with magical animals, but this time it is not to give birth to offspring, but to drive magical animals to fight for themselves. The fourth is to study alchemy and make some powerful alchemical items to enhance combat effectiveness. The four methods have their own advantages and disadvantages, which makes the young wizard fall into confusion. Lu Ren read it with great interest, but when he turned to the next page, he found that there was nothing there. The scrolls do not say which path the wizard chose. End of this chapter. Chapter 194. Let go of that owl. After severely reprimanding the broken dog, Lu Ren also closed the notebook in his hand helplessly. What else can I do? The person who broke the chapter can't find it himself, so he can only let it go. But that note undoubtedly opened up my mind. Just as there are 4 ways to write Finn, wizards also have 4 directions of development. To sum it up, they are spell flow, blood flow, summoning flow and alchemy flow. The flow of spells is the development direction of Dumbledore, Grindelwald, and Voldemort. Mastering various spells or spells to improve strength is also the current mainstream in the wizarding world. Lu Ren, who practiced blood magic, had never seen him before, so he didn't know if mixed blood Vila and half-blood giant counted. If werewolves could maintain their sanity after transforming, then it might be considered blood magic. What Lou Ren didn't know was that the wolfsbane potion that Professor Snape was imitating was the gospel of werewolves. It could keep them sane when transforming, and this possessed extremely strong combat effectiveness, a great help to Voldemort in the future. The werewolf relied on this to participate in the Hogwarts battle and shine. As someone who studies alchemy, Lou Ren only knows one: Nicholas, the threshold for alchemy is too high. If you really want to learn it, you will have to spend your whole life studying it. As for Lou Ren himself and Senior Gemma, they were typical summoners. Lou Ren thought for a while, the alchemy style was too difficult, the bloodline style was too dangerous, the spell style and the summoning style were more suitable for him. How cool it was to hug his thighs. He was the Norwegian-backed dragon's Hewley, and indecision was a psychic technique. So Lou Ren closed the notebook. Then I went to the bookshelf to look for books on raising magical animals. The days passed like this as he got to know her better. Lou Ren found out that Alice was actually quite easy to coax. She was just a playful child who wanted to play pranks all day long, and at the same time had a strong interest in all kinds of delicacies and anecdotes. So Lou Ren's tutoring style in the morning quickly changed, and he went directly to the direction of the story meeting, and the fencing class in the afternoon was not much better. They were going to the fencing class, but they were going to have a picnic. The birds and animals in the mountains, the fish, shrimp, loach, and crabs in the river, and the chickens, ducks, geese, and dogs in the village all suffered. Alice has a strong interest in all living things that appear in Alice's eyes. On a sunny afternoon, Lou Ren, Jirinu and Alice hid beside a stream in the mountains to escape the heat. The weather was getting hotter, and Alice hated practicing swordplay in this kind of weather. Every time after practice, she would sweat all over her body, and her boots were also sweaty, which was very uncomfortable. The eldest lady wanted to skip class on her own initiative, and Jiletnu was also happy to have a leisurely time. It happened that it was a hot day and she didn't want to move, so everyone paddled happily together. So everyone wandered around in the mountains near Greylet's house. While wandering around today, Lou Ren unexpectedly found a bamboo forest, and what was even more lucky, Lou Ren caught a bamboo raccoon in the bamboo forest. Naturally, Lou Ren brought this beautiful black male bamboo raccoon to the river. In this way, Ningxi blew up the mint of the Japanese invaders, defeating the enemy's plot again. After Lou Ren's story was finished, the bamboo raccoon on the fire also turned golden. What's next? What's next? Alice looked forward to the follow-up plot. If you want to know what's going on, let's listen to the next chapter to break it down. Lou Ren took the bamboo raccoon off the fire, blew on it, tore off a hind leg, and handed it to Alice. Try it, this is the best mountain delicacy, very beautiful. Hey? It always whets my appetite like this every time. Alice stomped her feet and tore the bamboo raccoon in half, holding one half for herself, and handing the other half to Jiletnu. Then he quickly climbed up the tree, lay down on the branch and enjoyed the bamboo fox. The Miss Granger you mentioned earlier, is she pretty? She suddenly asked without thinking. I'm face blind and don't look at faces. After eating that big leg, Lou Ren was still a little bit unsatisfied. A sudden flutter interrupted their conversation. Lou Ren looked towards the source of the sound, and felt his hair go numb. Alice was holding a flopping owl in her hand. Fuck. Let go of that owl. Lou Ren was shocked. Why are you holding on to that owl? It's just a messenger. Alice held the owl in one hand and took the letter from its lap with the other. Give me a reason not to eat it. Alice showed a mischievous smile on her face. Owls are good friends with wizards. So is the dog. Don't you just eat it. Lou Ren. Look at how cute it is. The bamboo raccoon just now is also quite cute. Just as the fire is still alive. Seeing Lou Ren's helpless expression, Alice giggled, and then she let go of the owl, and the freed owl flapped its wings and flew away. Alice, oh, okay, I'm just joking with you. I'm not a reincarnation of a starved ghost. I don't want to try everything. Lou Ren heaved a sigh of relief. He was still quite afraid that the child would miss the owl. The husband will do something and not do it, and the young lady will eat and not eat. Afterwards, Alice opened the letter and read it, and it turned out to be the acceptance letter from Hogwarts. Lou Ren counted the days, and it turned out that it was right, and it was time for freshmen to enroll again, and the letters of the old students will take about a week. At night Professor McGonagall may not be able to write them all by himself, and the letters of the students are sent in batches. The first year Harry received the letter earlier than his birthday, July 7th, while the second year Harry received the letter from Hogwarts more than 10 days after his birthday. Obviously, Professor McGonagall was lazy, and it took her more than 10 days to write these hundreds of admission letters. From the second day after receiving the admission notice, Alice began to pack her luggage. She stuffed a lot of clothes, candy, and all kinds of weird things into her suitcase. There was her salamander named Crispy Rice. "Why are you packing so early? Aren't you staying at home for a while?" Lu Ren leaned against the bedroom door, watching the silver-haired little girl busily packing her things. Alice crossed her waist. "If there is anything interesting at home, it is reasonable to go to school to see it. Where do you live?" Lu Ren was a little curious. He received the admission notice yesterday and made a plan today, which is quite efficient. "I haven't figured it out yet. Live in school." Alice picked up a pair of wool socks, rolled them up, and threw them into the suitcase. The corners of Lu Ren's eyes twitched. "Did you have no plan at all? Are Hogwarts students allowed to live on campus during the summer vacation? It doesn't seem to work, unless there is a long-term project, but now it's almost August, and even Sprout's project has been completed, and Hogwarts has been closed. And how can we make such an opening? If any freshmen can live in the school, wouldn't the school be in chaos? Students cannot stay at Hogwarts during the summer vacation." Lu Ren reminded kindly. "Hey." Alice was shocked. "Thanks Trex Longying, Konjac, Blazing Flame, Purple-Eyed Black Dragon, Zio, and for the monthly pass. Thank you Konjac for your reward. By the way, please ask for recommendation tickets and monthly tickets. Cyrillic letter deck. Love you." End of this chapter. Chapter 195 to the Burrow. Looking at Alice standing there in a daze, Lu Ren rubbed his forehead. This child has no plan at all, and he comes up with it as soon as he thinks about it. "The school is not open. Do you still have to go so early?" "Of course, I'll go. Alice sat down on the bed like an angry puffer fish, and continued to pack her things. "Aren't you afraid that the bad guys outside will abduct you?" The black wizard outside looked at it. "Yo. Such a beautiful little girl, why don't you just carry you and run away?" The movements in Alice's hands froze, but she still said stubbornly, "It doesn't matter, I will hit 10 of those guys." Thinking of Alice's amazing talent, Lu Ren couldn't help being speechless. If a black wizard who is alone meets her, there is a high probability that he will overturn his car. It's like you met a little wild cat on the side of the road, and then you took out a dried fish to tease it, but the little cat smashed your car window with a meowing punch. But it's not a problem to let the little girl run around outside alone like this. "Well, let me contact my friend to see if his family can take us in." "Really?" Alice suddenly regained her spirits, and even a little hair appeared on her head. Flickering, she jumped up from the bed and ran towards Lu Ren waving her hands. It seemed that she wanted to give Lu Ren a hug. But this set of movements is too similar to the movements of a horse named Golden Ship in a certain horse racing game, causing Lu Ren to dodge subconsciously. Speaking of which, Alice and the Golden Ship have something in common. Alice rushed straight to nothing. "Alice, Greek letter sigma, degree Cyrillic letter de degree, are you serious about taking a half step back?" Lu Ren sent a letter to Ron, and Ron replied quickly, "There is no problem at all." So they really had to pack their bags for the Burrow. At night, Lu Ren was folding his robes and putting them neatly into the box. Lu Ren didn't have much luggage, just a few changes of clothes, spare shoes, a bag of galleons, a tiger and a unicorn, so he packed very quickly. Within a quarter of an hour, his luggage was basically packed. The tiger was also stuffed back into the cat bag by him. The unicorn is lying on the bed, and it will be stuffed in together the next morning. At this time, he heard someone knocking on the door, and when he opened the door, he was extremely surprised to find that it was actually Alice holding a pile of clothes. It was unbelievable that Alice would knock on the door before entering. "My suitcase can't fit anymore," Alice said pitifully, and at the same time activated the skill, Charm. It's a pity that the skill was unlocked by Lu Ren in seconds. "Your suitcase is so big, why can't it fit into it?" Lu Ren himself was also super shocked. "Don't say that your suitcase has not been cast with a traceless stretching spell. It's just not enough. I've tried my best to simplify it." Alice put the clothes on Lu Ren's bed directly, and then took a look at Lu Ren's suitcase. "Your suitcase is quite empty, please." "Wow, is this your unicorn? It's so beautiful." She was about to rub the soles of her feet with oil and run away, but she saw the little unicorn hidden on Lu Ren's bed, and Alice couldn't move it all at once. "Feed off. What girl can resist the allure of a unicorn?" Lu Ren hid the unicorn very tightly before, and kept it in his bedroom as a secret. Of course, the bedroom was big enough, so this was the first time Alice saw a unicorn cub. And now there are only two thoughts in Alice's mind. Do such beautiful creatures really exist in this dirty world, and I want to raise a unicorn. The little unicorn felt Alice's gaze, which was so hot that if people's gaze had warmth, then Alice would definitely be able to melt steel easily. It looked at Alice. It has to be said that Alice's appearance is excellent, and she left a very good first impression on the little unicorn, approved by the beast. Unicorns have buffs for their affection for people, women, virginity, beauty, and an affinity with nature are all positive buffs, and there is no doubt that Alice has all four events. Lou Ren's favorability was maxed out by relying on his life-saving friendship, and Alice almost reached 80% of her favorability after her first appearance. Goo! The little unicorn turned into a golden ball and rolled off the bed, stumbled towards Alice, stood in front of her and pondered for a while with his head tilted, feeling intuitively that there seemed to be no risk, and then it into Alice's arms. Unicorns are very sensitive creatures in its perception. Alice is a very powerful magical creature, but the smell surrounding her is mischievous and friendly. Although there is a faint smell of blood, it just ate a few animals. The smell on Lou Ren's body is much stronger, and the little unicorn has gotten used to it. Be gentle, don't make too much noise. Lou Ren glanced at the unicorn with a look of enjoyment on his face, and could only speak out to remind Alice to be gentle and quiet, and then sat on the bed to clean up for Alice clothing. Shirts, trousers, jackets, scarves, socks, why are there underwear? Lou Ren only felt that his head was as big as a bucket. Alice is as disturbing as a mischievous daughter. Then he sighed and stuffed the clothes that Alice left behind into the suitcase bit by bit, but he still picked out all the underwear. Put your underwear where you are. Full. Put it in even if it's full. Lou Ren's tone was unquestionable. I'll go and see your suitcase. What did you bring? It's full. No, no. Alice hugged the unicorn, shaking her head like a rattle. How can a girl's box be looked at casually? You dare to stuff underwear into my suitcase. What else can't you see? Let me be healthy. In the end, Alice's box was spread out and placed in Lou Ren's bedroom. Lou Ren looked at a lot of miscellaneous things. With complicated emotions, a box with the untraceable stretching charm applied can hold 5 ordinary boxes in terms of capacity, but it is still filled with Alice's various things. Lou Ren picked out all the things and put them on the bed. Inside the box were 2 quilts, dozens of sets of comic books, several large bags of snacks, drinks, and a lot of weird gadgets that Lou Ren didn't know. These gadgets weighed over 100 caddies. In addition to these, there is a whole set of kitchen utensils. This set of kitchen utensils looks extremely exquisite. There are more than 10 types of kitchen knives alone, and Lou Ren even saw 8 pieces of crabs, definitely a boon for those who love to cook. Of course, these are not the most egregious. The most egregious thing is that Alice stuffed a Nimbus 2000 in the box. Lou Ren took out a broom without mercy. Freshmen are not allowed to bring broomsticks. Then how did you and Harry join the school team? Lou Ren. End of this chapter. Chapter 196, The Crypt of Weasel. Lou Ren now has a strong sense of guilt. He feels that he is a breaker of the school rules, and he mourns for Professor Dumbledore for a second. But he took the broom out anyway, so there would be plenty of room after putting the clothes in. Lou Ren closed the box and invited Alice out. The little unicorn jumped out of her arms and returned to Lou Ren's bed. Lou Ren, so, Greek letter sigma is fine, very good, this cub is trustworthy. The suitcase was just a blip in their travels, and the next morning they were ready to head to the burrow. As for the way to get to the burrow, Lou Ren and the others decided to use the Flu Network. The Flu Web is a wizard's way of traveling from one place to another through fireplaces and Flu Powder. The fireplaces in almost every wizarding and wizarding home were connected to the Flu Network, and the Greyrits and the Wheel-Eyes were no exceptions. The Flu Network between the two was established last night. Through the Flu Network, wizards could commute easily between home and the Ministry of Magic, wizarding pubs and wizarding shops, far more comfortable than brooms, apparitions and portkeys when traveling. The wizard only needs to sprinkle Flu Powder into the fire, step into the emerald green flame, and accurately name the destination to complete the journey. Before the fire, Sextus and Spurious were saying goodbye to Alice. The two of them had already decided to send Alice to Hogwarts. Remember to write us a letter after arriving at the burrow, and don't interrupt a letter when you go to Hogwarts in the future. If you have a plan to come back during the holiday, please tell us in advance. Listen to your brother Lou Ren more in various matters, don't be too self-willed. Spurious rambled. He also combed his daughter's hair, and then adjusted the angle of the witch hat on her head. Then he turned his gaze to Lou Ren. Please. I will trouble you to take care of this child. This child? Alice, can't be explained in words, so I will trouble you. If she makes a mistake, hit her directly, hard. Lu Ren could understand spurious thoughts. Her daughter was only 11 years old, and she was about to go to school in a completely strange country. The completely unfamiliar environment, language and customs are a huge challenge for an 11-year-old girl. As a parent, there is nothing I can do to help my daughter, so I can only ask acquaintances to take care of her. No problem, I will take good care of her. Since she calls me brother, I will treat her like my own sister. Lu Ren made his promise. Have you brought enough money? Sextus was more direct. Grandpa, that's enough. Alice hung on Grandpa's arm like a little koala, but her eyes were full of excitement. Alice, no matter what, safety first. If a classmate bullies you, I'll go to the teacher, Alice assured Grandpa. Wrong. Sextus' voice almost lifted the ceiling. You must teach them a lesson and beat those who bully you. If something happens, I, Sextus, will take care of it. Those who can't be beaten will ask you, Lu Ren, to deal with him. Kid, you will do this, right? No problem. Lu Ren's head began to ache again. At this time, Jirinu came over, pinned a small hairpin to Alice's hair, and told her that it was an alchemy item, and a special iron armor spell was fixed inside, which would be automatically activated when in danger, and rebound the spell. Of course, it takes a day to recover after being activated. If it is broken, send it back for her to find someone to repair. Spulius on the side moved, and he took off a sapphire ring from his ring finger. The pattern on it looked like an eye. Put on this ring, and wizards with sharp eyesight won't provoke you. He put the ring on his daughter's thumb. Okay, the appointed time is coming soon, let's go. Sextus pushed Lu Ren and Alice to the front of the fireplace. There was a small silver jar on the fireplace, which contained shiny powder. Lu Ren knew that this was Floo powder. Goodbye, everyone. Lu Ren said goodbye to the people present, then grabbed a handful of Floo powder and threw the powder into the flames with a whoosh. The fire turned green and rose higher than him. He walked straight into the fire with his suitcase, yelled burrow, and was gone in the blink of an eye. The burrow is the place where the Weasley family lives. To be precise, it cannot be called the burrow, but the crypt. The word Weasley comes from a weasel, and it makes sense that weasels live in burrows. Lu Ren's body was spinning rapidly, and there was a deafening whistling sound in his ears. Finally, he flew out of the fireplace. Fortunately, his left hand supported him in time, saving himself from falling face down on the ground. Oh, not bad. A familiar voice came from Lu Ren's ear, and he didn't need to look up to know that Fred was talking. People who use Floo for the first time will probably fall straight to the ground. You are a rare guy who is not embarrassed. George put his hands on Fred's shoulders and greeted Lu Ren with a smile. Lu Ren stood still and waited for the dizziness in his head to fade away before he realized that there was a group of people standing in front of him: Ron, Brother Fred, Percy, and of course Mrs. Weasley. Mrs. Weasley wore a printed apron with a wand in the apron pocket, looking as amiable as the aunt next door. The others were also in their normal clothes, looking relaxed and at ease. He excused his surroundings. He was clearly in the Wheel-Eye's kitchen, which was small and rather cramped. With a well-scrubbed wooden table and a few chairs in the center. On the opposite wall is a clock with only one hand. On the dial are words such as make tea, feed the chicken, you're going to be late, and so on. Lu Ren also wants such a clock very much. He will not miss all kinds of chores, such as the time for the arena settlement in the mobile game. But before he could exchange greetings with the Wheel-Eyes, a huge force hit him, and Alice also rushed out of the fireplace, put her head on his back, and printed a letter onto his clothes. Dark marks. Clean it up. Mrs. Weasley cast a cleansing spell on the two of them with great intentions. I have to say that her cleansing spell is much better than Lu Ren's. One spell directly cleans up the two of them net. As the ashes on Alice's body were cleaned up, Ron's face turned red the moment he saw Alice's true face, and he didn't know what to say. Mrs. Weasley also showed surprise in his eyes. The look on his face, this girl is so handsome. The following are not included in the number of text. There is a shocking story about Floo.com. After I saw the ending of this story, my shocking 3 views were split. The Japanese just wanted to have fun with a torn or something. It really depends on me. Big rolling. See author's note for details. That day, the witch Violet Dillyman jumped into the fire in the living room after a quarrel with her husband Albert, expressing that she wanted to go back to her mother's house. After a few weeks, Albert realized it was time to send his wife home. He came to his mother-in-law's house, but her mother-in-law said that Violet never came back. Albert rushed into his mother-in-law's house and searched it, but found that what his mother-in-law said was true. After posting numerous missing persons notices and publishing an article in the Daily Prophet, Violet was still not found. No one seemed to know where she was, nor from which fireplace she had been seen. After Violet disappeared, people became afraid of using the Flu network, fearing that they, too, would disappear into thin air. But as time passed, people's memories of Violet gradually faded, and no one else disappeared. So the wizarding world gradually began to use the Flu network. Albert lost his wife, and he never used the Flu again. Violet reappears 20 years later. When Albert is dead, Violet does not appear in the fireplace at her mother's house, but in the fireplace at Myra and Oz's houses, due to not saying her destination correctly when using the Flu network. Myra and Oz's house, a handsome wizard living in Bury St. Edmunds, fell in love with Violet at first sight when he appeared in the fireplace, even though Violet had tears on her face and the stove was stained on her face. Since then, Myron, Violet and their 7 children have lived a happy life. By the way, the English name of the heroine is Violet, which is the same name as the heroine of Violet Eternal Garden. End of this chapter. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelists. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 197. My sister can't be this cute. Exquisite face, long silver hair and extremely delicate clothes. This is the first impression of Alice in the eyes of others. Then Alice politely saluted the Wheel Eyes. This is what surprised Lou Ren. It was the first time he had seen this guy so polite. No way, my sister Alice can't be this cute. Although the burrow looks relatively simple, it is still a standard big house in the mouth of the Guan family. Basically, every child has a bedroom or shares a bedroom, and Lou Ren is very sure that if the Weasley family adds a few more a child, and still fit, is it hard for a wizard to add another floor to his home? Although the Weasley family is quite poor, they are still hospitable and will treat the guests who come and go warmly. They even used it as the headquarters of the Order of the Phoenix during the Second Wizarding War. Although the Wheel Eyes were poor in the eyes of outsiders, Lou Ren felt that they were actually very rich. The greatest wealth of the Wheel Eyes is their family of the 28 pure blood families, which one has 7 direct descendants. In the current situation where the population of the magic world is declining, the 7 wizards are their greatest wealth. What's more, these children are all excellent. Even Ron has many advantages. It's just overshadowed by the light of Hermione and Harry. A pure blood family that has been on the right team twice in a row will naturally develop by leaps and bounds after the war, and the future of the magic world also rests on this kind of enlightened wizard family. Moreover, the poor of the Weasley family and the poverty in the Central Plains people's consciousness are 2 different things. The poverty in the Central Plains is that they eat bran and swallow vegetables all year round. Children cannot go to school, have to drop out of school to work, or cannot receive a good education. Even in the 21s, there are still many children in mountainous areas who live on taro all day long. Although they have a great country and a group of respectable people to help them, freezing 3 feet does not happen in a day. The Central Plains is really too big, and some places still need time to get rid of poverty. But the Wheel Eyes are different. They are wizards. How can there be a wizard who eats bran and swallow vegetables? Their 3 meals a day are definitely at the level of middle-class families. Although middle-class families themselves are a pseudo-concept, the amount of meat they eat every day in the Central Plains will be nailed to the pillar of shame by public knowledge like paper clips. How many plumes of smoke can be raised in the Amazon rainforest by the meat consumed by the Weasley family every day? There are always a dozen strands, right? Their poverty is mainly reflected in the fact that the children can only use second-hand magic equipment, but it is by no means the kind of poverty that cannot afford food or school. Each of their children can go to Hogwarts. This is the best magic school in the world, a truly world-class university. No matter how much other magic schools boast, they can only say the histories as long as Hogwarts or the enrollment is larger than Hogwarts. No school has ever dared to say, "We are better than Hogwarts." Such crazy talk. The first floor of the burrow is the kitchen and living room, the second floor is where Ginny lives, and the third floor is the side of Fred Brothers and Percy. This arrangement can effectively prevent Fred and the others from blowing up the house. Bill and Charlie, but they have both moved out as adults. Arthur and Molly's room on the 5th floor, Ron lives on the 6th floor, and the attic above is a ghoul. Quick, take them to their room. Mrs. Weasley waved her hand and gave the order. Fred took Lou Ren's luggage, George picked up Alice's suitcase, and the two of them surrounded the two and went upstairs afterwards. Both Lou Ren and Alice were taken to the prepared room and settled down. Lou Ren lived in Charlie's vacated room, and Alice lived with Ginny. Ginny is the youngest child of the Weasley family and the only girl of this generation. She has flaming red hair, but the difference is that she is the only child who has inherited her mother's bright brown eyes. Could it be that the brown eyes are inherited with X chromosome recessive? Just kidding, there are 61 genes in the human body related to eye color. The current Ginny is petite, like a kitten, and has a sensitive and shy personality like a kitten. When Lou Ren arrives, she only dares to watch quietly from a distance. If the person who came was Harry, it would be even more so. Like a cat having a stress response, Lou Ren didn't know what kind of chemical reaction she would have if she lived with a carefree Alice. Charlie and Bill used to share a room, and Lou Ren was taken to their room for a temporary stay. This room is very much their style, and it gives people a distinct feeling. At first glance, it looks a bit like an Egyptian's room. Half of the space inside is filled with various Egyptian-style ornaments, and a form is posted on the wall with a translation of Egyptian hieroglyphs, but it's a pity that there are no photos of the two of them posted in the room. It is said that Bill is a very handsome wizard, and his clothes are also very cool, but it's normal. Not many people will put a photo of themselves as an adult in their bedroom, right? The decoration of the other half of the room is full of Charlie's style. There are pictures of various fire dragons on the wall. Apart from books on occult science, there are Quidditch magazines and books about fire dragons on the bookshelf. Lou Ren could even feel that Noble in his body was excited after stepping into this room. Since signing the contract with Noble, Lou Ren tried to communicate with Noble every day. He didn't let Noble stay in the Forbidden Forest all by himself, but kept it in his body, which was convenient for the two of them communicate. He saw some ways to strengthen the connection with the summoned beasts in the library of Grellet's house, and he has been working hard to practice these skills. It wasn't until before departure that this skill made some progress. He could sense Norbert's emotions a little bit, and Norbert could see the outside world through Lou Ren's eyes. After Fred put down his luggage, Lou Ren planned to go downstairs to have a look. There was no need to make the bed or tidy up. Mrs. Weasley had already taken care of the bed and sanitation for Lou Ren. He only needs to carry his bags and move in. When he finished packing his things and came to the living room on the first floor, Alice and Ginny were already there. To Lou Ren's surprise, it seemed that Alice and Ginny got along well. Whispering on the sofa, and giggling from time to time after seeing Lou Ren, Ginny's face turned red all of a sudden. She took Alice's hand and ran to the yard. Fred walked up to Lou Ren and sighed. "We invented a lot of novel gadgets, and we played with them during the holidays. It's the end of the month, ask for a monthly ticket. If you don't vote, the monthly pass will expire. Brother I have been working hard this month, and I have not stopped updating for a day, and I will add updates from time to time on weekends. Is it worth voting for a few monthly tickets? Ask for a monthly ticket, ask for a monthly ticket, ask for a monthly ticket. Sapo roll around and ask for a monthly ticket." End of this chapter. Chapter 198. The Burrow Daily Life. Lou Ren's Burrow life began. It's summer vacation, and everyone in the Burrow is free, except Arthur, the head of the family. He has been extremely busy these past few days. During the day, he accompanied other staff from the Ministry of Magic to search for dark magic items, and at night he had to work overtime to deal with various misuse of Muggle items. Some wizards are really boring and like to have fun with Muggles, like selling them some shrinking keys and biting water bottles. And the children of the Weasley family are also in a state of complete freedom. They don't need to study for exams, do their homework, just enjoy their holidays. The only thing to do is to complete the task assigned by my mother, of course. Percy, who is a problem solver, has signed up for some student projects, but now that these projects have been completed, he is naturally free. It is said that he shut himself in the house every day to write his thesis, and his owl could be seen frequently coming in and out of his bedroom window. Early the next morning, Lou Ren woke up from his sleep. Another beautiful day had begun. He went down the stairs and came to the kitchen on the first floor. Mrs. Weasley was already packing breakfast, and the stained plates on the dining table showed that someone had eaten there just now. "Are you awake? Arthur just left. It's a pity that he has been working overtime for the past few days. He didn't come back until midnight yesterday, and then he had to go to work again early in the morning. I haven't had a chance to see you. Sit down and have some sausage." With a wave of Mrs. Weasley's wand, several sausages and slices of bread in the frying pan jumped up and jumped into a plate in line on the plate. Then the plate floated up and flew towards Lou Ren wobbly. Along the way, the salt jar, Soy sauce bottle and seasoning bottle also automatically spit out some seasonings. In the end, a standard English breakfast was placed in front of Lu Ren, and a pair of knives and forks appeared on the table. This magic is so powerful. Stars appeared in Lu Ren's eyes. It's nothing, I saw this from a book. Saying that, Mrs. Weasley pulled out a book from the bookshelf. It was written about a handsome blonde wizard with wavy hair and bright. His blue eyes accentuate his smile, and the cover reads in gilt script, Gilderoy Lockhart's 50 Little Practical Household Charms. Lu Ren. Lockhart's business scope is quite extensive. Have you heard of Lockhart? He's an amazing wizard, and no one knows more about house magic than him. These 50 spells were collected and sorted out when he was traveling around the world. Wise Mrs. Lye smiled. I heard a little. Lu Ren echoed absent-mindedly, and at the same time arranged the sausage on the bread, then covered it with poached eggs, and added a slice of bread on top to make a thick, calorie-filled sandwich. Mrs. Weasley's eyes lit up, and she began to introduce Lockhart eloquently, while Lu Ren was enjoying the sausage sandwich while listening. Not to mention, the taste was really amazing. It was oily and watery when biting into it, and it was soggy. The yolks of the heart eggs were mixed together to form the most wonderful soup in the world. Mrs. Weasley's cooking was a masterclass. It is said that Lockhart writes, words every day, words. He keeps writing. What a hard work. We really should give awards to such authors. Mrs. Weasley was about to send Lockhart when heart blew up to the sky. Lu Ren also ended the battle and wiped the oily corner of his mouth. Mom, your cooking skills are as good as your magic. Facing Lu Ren's praise, Mrs. Weasley smiled brightly. At this time, there was a sound of footsteps upstairs, and Fred and George jumped out of the stairs with a jerk. Is it sausage this morning? Yes. And next time you jump down the stairs again, I'll send you to the attic to clean up. Mrs. Weasley served a plate of sausages for the two of them, and then warned them to be honest, and continued for Lu Ren. By the way, a plate of sausages. Originally, Lu Ren didn't want to eat it, but Noble in his heart yelled, Lu Ren, I want to eat a sausage sandwich. Lu Ren's first reaction was, are you joking? I am full. In the next instant, Noble absorbed the food that Lu Ren had just eaten. So Lu Ren's stomach growled. There is no other way, just keep eating. At the dinner table, they had to chat besides eating, and there was no such thing as eating, sleeping, and talking. Then they gradually talked about Lu Ren's forest battle, and Fred and George were taken aback for a while. So, Lu Ren, do you have a dragon now? Yes, I have a dragon. Wow. This is so cool. Soon the girls got up too, and the table was full of excitement. After Lu Ren finished talking about his experience in France, Mrs. Weasley started reading various books by Lockhart. Alice looked very interested in Lockhart's adventures. Even a witch-like mother worships him so much. The British wizarding world is finished, isn't it? Fred said in a low voice, but everyone at the table could hear as long as they were not deaf. Mrs. Weasley breathed a little more quickly. Don't talk nonsense, Fred. I think you are too full, and now you are going to clear the goblins in the garden for me. They are making trouble out of control again. Since you are so good, then you probably won't need this book, but if I check and find that there is only one goblin left in the garden, just wait and see. She pointed to a book called Gilderoy Lockhart's Guide to Getting Rid of Household Pests. Fred walked out grumbling and complaining, and George followed originally. Lu Ren didn't need to go, but Lu Ren also wanted to meet the goblins, so he joined them. Where there was Lu Ren, there was naturally Alice, so Fred's work that was originally done by himself became 4 people's participation. The Weasley family's garden is very large, overgrown with weeds, surrounded by many intertwined trees at the base of the wall. Various plants that Lu Ren has never seen before creep out from each flower bed, and there is also a large green pond. Inside there are many tiger frogs. Lu Ren drooled as he looked at the fat frogs. Tiger frogs are commonly known as frogs, and they are rare delicacies. The Weasley family's frogs are really well raised, and each one is fat and big. The first time Lu Ren came into contact with frogs was in literature. At that time, Ling Huchong and Ren Yingying roasted frogs and swordsmen, which made him hungry most of the night. What? You mean Ren Yingying and Ling Huchong's fairy romance? That Lu Ren didn't care, he only had roasted frogs in his eyes. Alice understood Lu Ren's expression so well, it took her almost a second to know the creatures that could be turned into delicious food nearby. End of this chapter. Chapter 199 Medal of the Order of Merlin, 3rd class. Following Lu Ren's gaze, Alice saw the frogs in the pond. Out of instinct, She hated these slimy reptiles. However, considering that the food Lu Ren found was not bad, she is still skeptical at the moment. Lu Ren didn't explain too much. He decided to let the frogs live freely for a while, and now the top priority is to clean up the goblins. Lu Ren had never seen a goblin before. In his impression, goblins and goblins were the same concept, green, with pointed ears, and short, so Lu Ren was still shocked when Fred grabbed the creature from a clump of peonies. It doesn't fit Lu Ren's impression of goblins at all. It has a small body, rough and tough skin, and a big, round, bald head that looks like a potato. After being caught by the hind ankle, it kicked and kicked Fred with its other calloused foot, but because its legs were too short, it couldn't kick Fred at all. The scene was extremely funny. "You've got to do this," he said, lifting the goblins over his head, and swinging his arms in wide circles like lassos. "Find a move that won't hurt them. You've got to spin them so you can't find the goblin hole." As soon as he let go, the goblin was thrown, flying directly over a stake that bordered the garden. "Okay," George said, "I'll match my record in no time. Why not kill them, since they will come back? Just get rid of them, once and for all. My blasting spell can do it." Alice looked at these potato-like creatures, eager to try. "No need, they like it here, and Dad is very tolerant of them. He thinks they are very interesting. In fact, cleaning them is also very interesting," Fred said quickly. "Yeah, if we kill the goblins, Mom will definitely find us more jobs to do. That's too bad." George also added their real reasons. "Be careful, they will bite, and you must be careful and ruthless," Fred warned. Soon, the goblins in the garden were caught one by one and thrown over the fence. Holding 5 or 6 goblins in his hand, George said to Lu Ren, "Look, they're not very clever." As soon as they heard that they were clearing out goblins, they all ran over to see them. They haven't learned to be smart yet. A goblin can enjoy a free roller coaster, pirate ship and field adventure. This is the joy of a goblin," Lu Ren said while throwing a goblin in the way of a baseball. "Fred and George? Question mark? You're not a goblin. How do you know how happy a goblin is?" Alice asked Lu Ren in disbelief. "You're not me. How do you know that I don't know the joy of goblins?" The other 3 people don't know where the goblin's happiness lies, but Lu Ren's happiness lies in bragging, that's for sure. It was an owl that ended the conversation. This owl was all white and looked very expensive. It flew to Lu Ren and dropped a letter for him. The envelope looked very delicate, with a delicate silver W drawn on it, and the signer on the letter said, "Was Angermet." The letter aroused the interest of others, and they gathered around Lu Ren. Fred exclaimed, "The Wasangamut." Everyone realized something, and they urged Lu Ren to open the envelope quickly. Lu Ren opened the letter and read it. "Dear Mr. Lu, due to your extraordinary courage and determination to fight against the dark wizards, you have made outstanding contributions to maintaining the peace of the magic world. Therefore, after discussion, you have been selected into the Merlin's Order. It is our honor to join you. You are about to become the youngest recipient of the Order of Merlin, our D class. Since the order was founded in the 15th century, your joining is our pride. Your order will be presented by your second nominee, the Lord Albus Dumbledore. Yours sincerely, good luck. Lu Ren, congratulations." After Lu Ren finished reading the letter, Fred said happily, "Mom will not use Percy to whip us soon. You will take Percy's place." "That's not a good thing," Lu Ren answered, and the air was filled with joy. Lu Ren felt that there was something else in the envelope, and he took it out to see that it was a medal composed of a large gold medal and a white ribbon, and a small note with Dumbledore's handwriting on it. "Sorry, there is no bonus. You are doing very well. Tisk, am I that greedy for money? The key is honor. This is the medal of the Order of Merlin." Lu Ren touched the money bag of, galleons on his waist, very stubborn. "Is this the Order of Merlin's medal? It looks quite beautiful." Alice touched the medal curiously. "It's quite heavy. It may be made of pure gold." Lu Ren smiled happily. "That's right. It's not bad to change to gold-plated one just because it's only level 3. At noon, after getting the news, Mrs. Weasley happily opened a bottle of flame whiskey to congratulate Lu Ren. What surprised Lu Ren even more was that Mrs. Weasley made 2 roast ducks specially to welcome him, but the way of sliced duck is hard to describe. Mrs. Weasley stood in front of the stove and waved her wand lightly. 2 roasted ducks jumped onto the chopping board spontaneously, and then held a knife between their wings to slice each other's meat. Although the sliced meat was very neat and beautiful, and 108 slices of a duck were sliced just right, Lu Ren still felt a little hard to explain. It always feels weird, the SAM value seems to have dropped. Afterwards, he even witnessed operations such as automatic frying duck racks and automatic wrapping of duck cakes, not to mention, it's pretty cool, and he really hasn't eaten roast duck for a long time. When I was in the Central Plains, it was no different from the 21st century. In the 90s, roast duck was a rare thing. Eating one would be like celebrating the new year. The oil, the aroma of sauce and the crispness of cucumber exploded in his mouth together, and only then did Lu Ren feel the true meaning of roast duck. It is said that the duck used before was a local stuffed duck, which was fat and thin, with thick subcutaneous fat, tender and moderate, not fishy or sour. What a waste of money. Roast duck, what you eat is the feeling of the puddle of oil. Your duck is not greasy, how can you call it roast duck? The oily feeling is the greatest gift to workers. In addition to roast duck burritos, there are also duck rack soup and salt and pepper duck rack. The roast duck made by Mrs. Weasley is no less than the roast duck restaurant in Central Plains, and besides the single cake, she also thoughtfully steamed a basket of steamed buns. The long-lost Chinese meal made Lu Ren feel very cordial. Naturally, there was no need for others to worry about the aftermath of the meal. Mrs. Weasley used her wand to touch the dishes in the sink casually, and the dishes would be cleaned by themselves. Others can relax as much as they want. End of this chapter. Chapter 200. Lu Ren's first day at the burrow soon came to an end. In the evening, everyone gathered in the living room after dinner and rested comfortably. The layout of the Weasley family's living room was very warm and comfortable, with a sofa and a few chairs placed in a small space. There is also a large fireplace for warmth, and a large wooden radio in the living room. Of course, the most special item is a clock that does not tell the time. This clock can be used to show where everyone in the Weasley family is, or what state they are in. There are 9 hands on the clock, each of which is engraved with the name of a Weasley family member. Places or states such as home, school, work, on the way, missing, hospital, prison and mortal danger are written where the numbers are on the face of an ordinary clock. The Weasley family stayed in the living room with Lu Ren and Alice, listening to the songs of the famous witch singer Celestina Warbeck on the old radio. At this moment, the flames of the kitchen fireplace burst into flames. The needle belonging to Mr. Arthur in the living room also jumped from work to home. "Daddy's back," said George, and everyone looked toward the kitchen. There was a thin, bald man in the kitchen. He had the same fiery red hair as Fred and the others, and he was wearing a green robe. His face could be seen even across a room. Tiredness. Immediately after he got out of the fireplace, he slumped in the kitchen chair, took off his glasses, and closed his eyes. The person who came was the head of the family, Arthur Weasley. "Harry has been warned by the Ministry of Magic." Mr. Arthur paused for a while, and the first sentence he spoke surprised everyone. "What?" Mrs. Weasley couldn't sit still. "What's going on?" "Be careful. It was Perkins who told me. He told me that the Ministry of Magic detected that someone had cast a levitation spell at 4 Privet Drive this evening. That's Harry's address, and Harry was the only wizard, so a warning letter was sent to Harry. This is ridiculous. What if another wizard came to Harry's house and cast a spell?" Fred said with a frown. "And it may be a spell cast by a non-human magical creature." Lu Ren added that he had already guessed the general truth of the matter. Arthur rubbed his forehead. "These guesses are reasonable, but the probability is too low. The most likely is that he did it himself, because the detected spell is just a hovering spell. The final processing result is Mafalda. A warning letter was sent to Harry, and there will be no substantive punishment." "Oh, wait a minute." Mr. Arthur rested for a while, and suddenly realized something. "Merlin. Is it Lu Ren? I was so busy that I didn't notice you." He stretched out his hand and Lu Ren shook his hands. "Nice to meet you. Ron told us a lot about your story, and you are quite famous in the ministry. We were very happy with the report of the interview with Fudge. I just did a little trivial thing." Lu Ren said modestly, "It's getting late. You should go to rest early. It looks like you have to work overtime tomorrow." "Don't worry about Harry. It might just be a misunderstanding." Listening to Lu Ren talking about the next day's work, Arthur sighed. He also knew that tomorrow would definitely be another day of leaving early and returning late. Thinking of this, he lost the interest to continue the conversation. He left in a hurry and took the time to wash up and sleep went. At night, Lu Ren felt someone knocking lightly on his bedroom door, and he woke up suddenly from his sleep. After a little thought, he guessed a visitor's outside the door, and when he opened the door, it turned out to be Brother Fred and Ron. "This is not a suitable time for chatting." Lu Ren spread his hands, indicating that you came at an inappropriate time. "Harry may have had an accident," Ron explained to Lu Ren, Harry lived with his godfather at the beginning of the summer vacation, and we kept in touch at that time, but when he returned to the Dursleys, he never wrote to us again. Today Dad came back to say that he used magic in front of Muggles and was warned. I was so worried that I couldn't sleep. So we decided to take an adventure. Fred raised his eyebrows. Want to join? Save Wizard Potter. Dad has a flying car, and we can drive him out. George revealed a little detail of the plan. And we think you may be the person who can drive the best. Ron said that among the people present, there may really be no one who knows how to drive better than you. When Luren sat in the driver's seat, he panicked. He had never driven a car before. This is the instrument panel. Look at the unit. This is the speed per hour, and the one next to it may be the fuel level. Do cars in the magic world burn gasoline? This is the handbrake. Luren began to identify various parts of the car. Fred and George and Ron. Now we are in a panic. But they have no choice, because they know less than Luren. So the four of them got together to study. I swear by my 11 years of Muggle life, the car must be turned on to start. Your car is a manual transmission, so hurry up and find out if there is a place to insert a key. If you are unlucky, we will have to steal the key. Soon a few people disagreed. Oh, really? Fred sneered, we are wizards. Then he pulled out his wand, waved it casually, and the car started. The sound of the engine was extremely harsh at night, and every twitch was like a cannonball exploding. Luren. I shouldn't be teaching science in the wizarding world. That being the case. He followed the analogy, pushed the rocker next to the driver's seat back, then lightly stepped on the accelerator, and the car backed out of the garage. Luren didn't really understand the steps and process of Muggle starting a car, but he instinctively felt that his operation just now was enough for him to pass the driver's license test 3 times. There should be an invisibility button, right? Luren thought for a while. If there is no invisibility button, we will probably be expelled from Hogwarts when we come back. Think about it, a car flying in the air. You're talking more and more like Hermione. Ron, who was sitting behind Luren, complained, but he and Luren still searched for the function of making the car invisible, and a silver button on the dashboard attracted Luren's attention. This button is really a bit abrupt. Luren remembers that there are usually no buttons on the dashboard, right? Sure enough, the car becomes invisible after 1 click. Then, Luren kicked the accelerator, and at the same time yanked the steering wheel, and the car took off. The speed was so fast that Ron and George in the back row directly hit the back of their heads on the seats. I forgot, the seat belt must be delivered before departure. Luren's voice echoed in the carriage. End of this chapter, end of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.